All right. My bad. Salutes. I had to get my stream and stuff together. It wasn't streaming on Rumble, so now it's streaming on Rumble. I'm good to go. So let me go ahead and let me jump in here and get this started. If you guys don't know what the title entails, it's entailing this so-called new information that they putting out about creating babies or embryos from stem cells instead of sperm and an egg. And I'm just trying to shed a little bit of light on this. And fair use, because I'm going to be streaming some stuff, and I know YouTube is tripping on that shit right now. If you're streaming other videos and stuff, but fair use, I'm gonna try it anyway and see what happens. I'm not gonna play all the way through. I'm gonna be giving commentary, but I think it's interesting how they're trying to make it seem like this is new information. This is stuff that they just started, but in actuality, they've been doing this crap all along. So. And then excuse the writing at the bottom of the page. It's doing its own editing and crap like that because I'm gonna save this video for later and put it up again. But this is PowerPoint and it's doing this thing. But yeah, man, scientists create human embryo without egg or sperm. And the reason why I think this is something we need to talk about, as you know, outside of mainstream media, is because let's debunk the lie right now. All right, this isn't anything new. They've been doing this shit all along. That's how they came up with the ideas of the religion and the religions, all of them included. Okay. Also, they've actually made images or 3D, renderings of supposedly the male sperm and the female egg, and all of this stuff correlates with this information right here that they're trying to make it seem like it's brand new. So just to let you guys know, the male sperm image of the little head with the squiggly tail is fake. That's fake. Also, women, I know this is going to be hard for you, but women don't produce eggs. I know that seems wrong that I'm saying this because this is science that's been proven throughout history, right? But women don't produce eggs. All right. The egg theory was created when they discovered what the real creation, the mechanism behind creation is. They created the egg theory because, believe it or not, we are in a gender war. We're not in a race war. We're in a gender war. And the reason why it's a gender war, it's all by design, is to keep us at odds. That means male and females, to keep us at odds. Because if we come to a consensus, just like they say, if we come to a consensus as the races, they can't stop us. The same thing, but it's actually true, occurs if men and female actually come to a consensus on creation. Now, the big thing about creation right now is that everybody believes that women are the sole proprietors of the creation method, that you can't have a baby without a woman. And their science has proven this because that's the whole method behind it in the first place, is to defeat the other side. And the other side is this. We have a bunch of masochists, a bunch of psychotic men and women that are perpetrating this war of the sexes. And the reason being is because their religion requires it. Their religion requires that, and I know I'm saying but the death cult religion requires that both sexes be at odds. That way, it's easier to implement the mechanism of death, just like it's easier when men and women come together to implement the mechanism of creation. So when you're in opposition of creation, everything that's in opposition of creation is your tool or method of madness. So what I mean is that by putting men and women against each other, it creates the goal for, or it creates the end goal of the death cult. Because if we're at odds with one another, we're less likely to procreate with one another. And see, every death count, even the ones that don't come to fruition. Meaning that if a baby is born or if a baby is conceived, if it doesn't get to conception or if it doesn't get to birth, that's the main goal. And if you don't even get to conception, then that's even better, because that's that's like a bonus, because the potential behind conception is endless. That means that women and men can have babies all the way up into the date that they die. They can all the way up into old age, until they die. I mean, if that's the possibility, there's no limit to how many kids you can have. And this is what the death cult is in opposition of. They want to remove the option of having children. They want to remove that, because if they can remove it, then every cycle that they consider, a creation cycle, because we also do cycles as well. That's why they created astrology to monitor this stuff. That's why they created seasons to monitor this stuff. That's why they created the religions to monitor and check this stuff. You see what I'm saying? It's utilized to control the procreation process, and that's what this entire show is going to be about. And I'm going to try to explain this so other people can understand it the way I do. Now, I'm not saying that what I'm talking about is the end all to all. What I'm saying is this is your opportunity, if you want, to prove this for yourself. I'm going to show you how to prove it to yourself. Because at first, when I found this out, I couldn't believe it. It was shocking to me that they would go to such lengths to do what they're doing, which means that the racism is another method of keeping men and women away from each other. For instance, if my race doesn't like your race, then our women won't procreate with your men, and vice versa. You see? And the whole method is to weed out any option of procreation at all. That's what this is all about. That's what all the racism is about. Because the biggest problem with the races is, reversing segregation, right? Stopping people from being apart, stopping the races from being apart. Well, the whole push for segregation is to keep the men and women from these different races commingling. That's what segregation was for, was to keep us from commingling. Now, when there wasn't any commingling, all the races were fine. You know what I'm saying? White people, black people, Asians, all these other rations, they were fine with commingling. They were fine with socializing with each other and shit. But as soon as the races began to mix, that's when all the problems started. So, because that was like another weapon in nature's arsenal to stop the death cult, because everything the death cults are doing is in opposition of natural order, of nature. Now, I hope I'm not boring people, because to me, this shit is really interesting. Now, let's start off with this part about the scientists and stuff, right? How they're creating embryos without an egg and a sperm. Because first of all, that's not how we procreate in the first place. Okay, we're not chickens, okay? And we're not aliens. We're natural beings. If you can take a microscope and look at sperm cells, then why can't you see what's inside of the sperm cells? Why can't you see what's inside of the egg? Because again, it's just another part of, the substance that you're magnifying, that you're looking at. If you can look at a substance that's solid and magnify it and see its internals, then why can't you do that with the sperm cell? Why do they just go as far as looking at the sperm cell or the female egg? Because they only want you to see what they want you to see. And first of all, that's all bogus. Okay. If you think that men have little squiggly worms inside of them that they shoot up into a woman, and that right there seeks out an egg that's inside of the woman's uterus, and then it destroys the egg, pretty much eats through the egg, and then settles inside of it and creates a life, then you're believing the scientific hype. You're believing what the death cult wants you to believe, because they want you to think that it's an infection. I believe I believe that's what it was when I first started to look into this stuff, that it was a form of infection. Men were infecting women and vice versa and shit like that. But as I started to learn a little bit more about it, I recognized that that was made up. The sperm and the egg theory, that's what it is, a theory. It's never been proven. It's never been repeated. It's always been, follow the science. And we see where science got us over the past couple of years. It's right up in our face now. So check it out. My bad, Indy. Let me scroll down so I can check you out. All right. There you go. Yeah, my channel's been acting up lately, tell you the truth. A lot of people that were moderators on my channel got knocked off. I never really paid attention to it because I really don't go by the moderator thing. But yeah, a lot of people have been getting pushed off. But that's neither here nor there. Let's check this shit out right here. All right. And let's see if what I'm saying is flawed. All right. So let me go past the title page on this. This right here is a video from Fox News that I saw that lend a little bit more credibility to what I was talking about. So check it out. Oh yeah, and fair use, YouTube.
It's a major scientific breakthrough that's raising some big ethical issues. Researchers in Israel have used stem cells to create living, growing models of a human embryo.
All right, you heard what she said, stem cells, right? Now, let me tell you about stem cells. A lot of people don't understand what a stem cell is. A stem cell is exactly what they're calling the sperm cell. A stem cell is, it sounds exactly like the image that they show us of the sperm. They show us a little ball with a tail on it, like a stem. But in actuality, they're not telling us where these stem cells come from. And I'm going to break it down to you guys and show y'all where these stem cells come from. It comes from a specific species of human. All right. It comes from a specific species of human. It's not proliferated throughout the whole entire species. And we know there's only two species of human. There's male and there's female. So it only comes from the male species, just like they point the picture of the sperm cell to us and tell us that's what we have inside of us. Now I'm going to show you guys something that prove it, because for some reason these deaf culters have to tell us the truth. They have to show us, and they have to put it in a way that it goes above a lot of our heads. So this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna let this finish playing, right? And I'm gonna commentary in between.
The lab without the use of sperm, eggs, or even a womb. Scientists say the model.
Now, she's saying that like that's something new, but that's not anything new. They've always been having babies without the womb. And if they having babies without the womb, then that means that they having babies without the egg too, right? Because the egg is synonymous with the womb. That means that the egg can't survive outside of the womb. And even though they try to tell us that it can, it can't. Because if they remove a baby that's not fully matured inside of the womb, it's likely to die. It's likely to die without some type of human intervention. Now, so that proves that the egg, the so-called egg, cannot survive outside of the womb. Now, this part about creating an embryo without the sperm and the egg is exactly true. You don't need all the parts that you would need inside of a female, so-called female. All right.
Which resembles a 14-day-old embryo can't grow into an actual human if they want to use it to study early fetal health issues like miscarriage and birth defects. Can you tell us about the implications?
And look, they use this rhetoric about helping in order to commit these atrocities against mankind, right? Or menkind. They use these ideas or these methods of help in order to push these atrocities upon nature. See, they're saying that they're doing this because they're trying to help women, or babies survive certain type of negative effects of early births and all that shit, or dying inside the womb. They're saying this because they're trying to get us malleable or to go soft on this type of behavior. And it's been working. It's been working for hundreds of years, if not thousands.
All this, Fox Medical contributor Dr. Nicole Sapphire. Thanks for joining us, Nicole. Also, this is a really interesting story, and it's...
Now look, you see how they play games too? They got two women talking about this, right? And it's actually being done by men and women. But listen to the way that they talk about this stuff. There's only one woman that's showing some type of concern, and that's the one on the left, who's supposed to be the reporter or the news representative. Oh crap.
And I'm going to tell Fox Medical interesting story, and it's on the backs of other stories which I want to bring up in this whole artificial world. What do you make of this? Do you think they're actually trying to make another human? Is this even a human? What do we make? It's a non-human sperm. How do they make an embryo out of this without a human sperm and egg?
All right. So this lady right here is on the right track, but this lady over here is going to deflect. Watch why she deflects it. She don't even, address what she said about a human sperm or a human at all. She just goes straight into her little spiel about the science.
Well, it's different from an embryo in the sense that it's an embryonic model, because at 14 days, which is what they have created, it already has to have been implanted into a uterus. And obviously, this embryo has not been implanted into a uterus, and therefore it cannot continue to grow. So it's important to distinguish between embryo and embryonic model. But obviously, this raises a lot of medical and legal and ethical concerns when we're talking about stem cell research.
Okay, so look. Now she didn't even address what the lady said. She said that it was an embryo model. Now she could have just said, no, it's not human. You know what I'm saying? Or it's not human sperm and just left it at that. But she left it open because the death cult have to give you the information, but they don't have to give you all of it. They have to put it out there because what they're creating, this death cult has to create plausible deniability. They won't get credit from their deity if they're not letting the victims utilize free will. And see, they're putting this in our face as a scientific breakthrough so we would be more relaxed and be more susceptible to this type of abomination, because that's what this is. This is an abomination. Anything that's not done, naturally is abominable to nature.
As it stands right now, the NIH and others all across the world have limited research.
The NIH. So we know that the NIH, the WHO, all of these things are part of these little organizations are part of one entity. And that one entity is what I'm calling the death cult.
14 days on embryos. You cannot do research. You cannot grow embryos in a lab up to after 14 days. That's their magic number. But does the same translate?
And look, they love showing us CGI and computer animated type of images to demonstrate what they want us to see. None of this stuff is real. Because see, creation is not as complex as we think it is. Oh, come on. I don't know why it keeps doing that.
To make another, we make it's a non-human sperm. How do they make an embryo out of this without a human sperm egg? Well, different from the embryo in the sense that it's an embryo.
All right, we already heard that part.
This embryo has not been implanted into the uterus, and therefore it cannot continue to grow. So it's important to distinguish between embryo and embryonic model. But obviously, this raises a lot of medical and legal and ethical concerns when we're talking about stem cell research. As it stands right now, the NIH and others all across the world have limited research to 14 days on embryos. You cannot go and 14 days on research.
All right, look at the hand sign that they're making right here. Look at that right there. We think that they're making the heart or whatever they're doing, but in actuality, if you guys look at that picture of my thumbnail for this screen or for this recording, you'll know what I'm talking about. All of these hand signs have a meaning. And when you participate in these, it's like you're saying, yeah, go ahead and work your magic on me. You know what I'm saying? But all of these hand signs have a meaning. Don't think that this heart means love. You know what I'm saying?
And others all across the world have limited research to 14 days on embryos. You cannot do research. You cannot.
And why would you put that on the newscast in the first place to show that? Because they have to put their initials on everything that they do. If not, they won't get credit for their deity. Oh, you kidding me?
And therefore it cannot continue to grow. So it's important to distinguish between embryo and embryonic model. But obviously, this raises a lot of medical
embryo and embryonic model.
Talking about stem cell research. As it stands right now, the NIH and others all across the world.
Anything that comes from this is transhuman. That means it's not human. Anything that comes from this. So that's what the whole push on this is to get us to accept this non-human entity, an entity that can be created and controlled by the creator. You see how this lines up with the religion? And this is how they want us to be. See, the creator can create you and destroy you or manipulate you throughout your life. And that's what these so-called stem cell babies are going to be. And this is going to be anybody that participates in this have no say in it. Once you give up your rights as a natural being to create something like this, you have no say in what they do with it or you, because you just signed your body over to experimentation.
To 14 days on embryos. You cannot do research. You cannot grow embryos in a lab up to after 14 days. That's their magic number. But does the same translate to these embryonic models? Will they continue to grow these to see how far they can go? I mean, what is really the purpose of this? As you mentioned, they say it's because they want to understand early fetal life, when most of the miscarriages happen. And I think it's a very slippery slope. Listen.
And see, miscarriages just don't happen, accidentally. They happen purposely, because any woman out of nature, any natural woman that's having a baby, don't go to get prenatal care and all of that stuff. You ever wonder how women used to do the birthing back before we had hospitals and nurses and doctors? Well, they were doing it naturally. When you realize that you're pregnant, they didn't take any extra precautions besides just living a natural life to bring forth that child. Nowadays, we have to go get checked up. We have to go get ultrasounds, and we don't know what these things are doing to the embryo inside of the woman's womb. All right, an ultrasound is a high intensity sound wave that travels through the woman and back to the machine. Now, how do we know that this ultrasound isn't making some type of complications for the embryo? They say it's not, because they've been using it for hundreds of years, but women have been losing babies as well hundreds of years. I mean, if you take a sound wave and you send it through a microscopic organism, if that organism is susceptible to that, it's going to destroy that embryo. It's going to destroy that organism. I'm sorry, because that's the same thing microwaves do. So we gotta pay attention to what they're telling us, because it's actually the truth that they're telling us, and we're not actually understanding that the truth is, if we don't understand what it's doing to us, then it could be detrimental to us as well.
Stem cell research, you can either do it from embryos, as you know, there's a lot of concerns with that, but you can also get stem cells from adult cells, and we're seeing a lot of that in regenerative medicine.
And this is the thing. They're telling us that you can get stem cells from embryos, and now they're saying you can get it from adult cells. You can get it from only one type of embryo, and you can get it from only one type of adult cell. And I'm going to show you guys what I'm talking about. You can only get it from male embryos, and you can only get it from male adult cells.
Arthritis, Alzheimer's, and stroke. When it comes to embryonic stem cells, that's where things get a little concerning, and I just don't know how far the pendulum is going to swing, what they're really planning on doing as we continue to have conversations about biological males wanting to try and have babies, and is that the future? Right.
You see how she brought that up about biological males wanting to have babies in the future? Because this is the whole premise behind this. In my previous videos, I talked about women that they're going to replace you altogether, because that's what the end goal is to fully separate the sexes, to fully destroy the mechanism, the natural mechanism of creating babies. And they're doing it under the guise of science. The same way they came up with, transhumanism, the same way they came up with gender reassignment. This is how they've been able to separate the sexes. If women are no longer needed, then we don't have to worry about treating women a certain way. They can be totally written off because they're not the portal that everybody thinks they are, which they never were in the beginning. See, the womb was the first thing that they created. They didn't create the other parts of the woman's reproductive organs, because they knew that they weren't even significant. They knew that these things were not significant. If I'm going to create a way to create another human, the first thing I'm going to do is find out what the human is, and then I'm going to create that, and then later on create the incubator for that. But they created the incubator first, because when they delved off into the woman's reproductive organs, they found that there was nothing there that was substantial enough to utilize besides the womb. And I know that sounds harsh, but I'm not trying to downplay women. They're a very important part of this process. But in this science, we need to recognize that they're not. In science, they're not.
You said you can't implant this embryo or this embryonic model into a womb. However, they're also creating artificial wombs. We know that they call them biobags. There's another one that's a pod. They've had some success with the lambs turning.
Now, the whole significance behind the lamb is the same way that they came up with the religion, the Lamb of God. You know what I'm saying? This is the connection to all of this stuff. Just because they're telling us one thing doesn't mean they're not doing something else. Now, they created the artificial womb first before they even created what? The egg, right? Because that tells you right there, there's no such thing as the egg. So what are they utilizing inside of this artificial womb? They're only utilizing this one substance. They're only utilizing the sperm inside of the artificial womb to create these animals that they're talking about right now.
Into fetuses, or becoming fetuses and growing in these biobags. I mean, they're obviously moving in this direction. I mean, just because you can do it doesn't mean we should do it. Absolutely.
And the reason why they can do it is because this is common knowledge amongst the cults, the occult. This is common knowledge amongst them. I mean, they let it show in certain TV shows that they knew about this a long time ago. They let it show in their teachings as well. The ancient practices, creating homunculus through alchemic processes and shit. And in alchemic processes is just saying that we created this animal or this creature utilizing chemicals. What chemicals? We're talking about the human chemicals, the human creation chemicals, the premortal ooze or premortal sludge. And we're going to go over that too as well.
And science is evolving very fast. The ethics and legal concerns and restrictions when it comes to science is not moving as quickly as it needs to. We know that we're already doing uterus transplantation. We've been doing it for women for years now.
I bet a lot of people didn't know that they've been transplanting uteruses into women for years, or so-called women for years. Now, the only reason why a woman would need a transplant is if her uterus or that woman didn't have a uterus. Now, the uterus, right, is only a part of the entire so-called mechanism that creates the woman's reproductive organs. They're not talking about the ovaries or the fallopian tubes, because without those, in their science, a woman wouldn't be able to have a baby. But they're talking about the uterus, just the uterus. Now, why is this important? Because we need to know what the uterus is in order to recognize what they're talking about. And we're going to get to that too as well. I know I keep butting in, but this is it.
Now they're talking about putting uterus in biological males. So how far will they go? We need to make sure the ethics and legals keep up with it.
See, there's no ethics in science. There's no morals in science. So if they've been doing it in women, they've been doing it in men as well. See, because they want us to believe that this is all New Age science. This is not. It's not New Age science. Before it was called science, it was called sorcery. Before it was called sorcery, it was called alchemy. You see how it's trying to kind of transform? Before it was called alchemy, it was called some other thing. So this is what we need to recognize when they're saying this stuff to us, because this is the deaf cult's way of utilizing plausible deniability. We told you what we were doing. You didn't object to it. And see, acquiesce is not objecting. When you acquiesce, that means you keep quiet. When you don't say anything, you are giving your okay to this. And by not saying anything at all, and by not even objecting to it, women are giving away their only leverage in creation. Their only leverage. Because the only leverage women have in creation, and I'm sorry to say this, is the womb. That's it. There's no eggs. Women are not born. They tell women this shit right here. When they're born with all of their eggs. But then when you get to a certain age, you stop making eggs. You run out of eggs. What kind of crap is that? But men, when they get to a certain age, they don't run out of sperm. What kind of crap is that? If we're the same species, that means that we are producing at the same rate. But then they turn around and tell us that women outlive men and all this crap. If you guys are not recognizing, they're using this to put women and men at odds. They're using race, and all this other stuff to put men and women at odds. The real war is not racism. The real war is not, some type of threat from another country. The real war is gender war. It's male against female. And the reason why that is because if you can break those two genders up and have them at odds, there is no procreation involved. Hence, what the deaf cult wants to happen.
Well, can't erase women.
Oh, can't erase women, but watch this little tidbit at the end.
That's for sure. And mothers. More fun.
Trying. Because that's the whole thing, right? That's where the video ended, right there, where she's saying they're trying, because that's the end goal. That's the message.
It's for women, that's for sure, and mothers. More fun.
You see that? That's exactly what this entire thing is about.
Yeah, wow. can't erase women, that's for sure, and mothers. Work on trying.
She didn't say they're trying. She said we're trying. Okay, so that proves right there my theory behind women and men are involved in this death cult, society. They're all trying to push this. It's not just one gender that's trying to erase the other gender. It's both genders working together to come to a common goal. And see, the people that are doing this, they look just like us, they act just like us, they sound just like us, and they are perpetuating this based off of a religious cult. A religious cult. I mean, back in the day, they used it to make women sacrifice their babies to Balak and Moloch and Baal. You know how hard it would be for, I mean, I'm not saying how hard it would be for a woman, but how hard it would be for a person to give up their newborn child and then watch it burn inside the hands of a golden or metal statue. That's a lot of persuasion going on there. And I don't see anybody doing it unless they feel like there's some type of ritualistic plot in that. So let's move on to the next thing right here. So the next thing I'm going to show you guys is the definition of a stem cell, right? Now, this definition of the stem cell has been given as universal. Stem cells are an undifferentiated cell that can divide and produce some offspring cells that continue as stem cells, and some cells that are destined to differentiate, become specialized. The same thing that they're telling us that the embryo does, it splits and turns into other cells that clump together to make the baby. It's the same thing that a stem cell does. The same pretty much definition. Okay, the differentiation of it is a stem cell, which is actually a sperm cell, it turns into whatever is needed to promote life. Okay, the stem cells are an ongoing source of the differentiated cells that make up the tissues and the organs of an animal and plants. Now, I don't know about you, but if a stem cell is doing all of these things, that means that it's transforming into whatever it needs to support life. And this is how we get these different types of saying like transhumanism, because they are wanting to transform whatever this cell is into whatever they want it to be. Okay? And they've figured out how to do that through a certain type of stimulation. Let me finish. There is a great interest in stem cells because they have the potential in the development of therapies for replacing defective or damaged cells resulting from a variety of disorders and injuries such as Parkinson's disease and heart disease and diabetes. Now check it out. We need to recognize that they're saying that these cells are able to fix the functions or dysfunctions in the body. Well, if we have these stem cells in us, why aren't they doing it on their own? Why aren't they doing it on their own? Because this is the natural course of things. Stem cells are human cells, especially the human stem cells, that regenerate different body parts when needed. Well, why are they saying it's only done when there's human intervention, when there's a scientist that removes them from your body and then puts them in your body in a certain way? Why are they saying that? Because they're trying to let you know that these cells they can morph into anything, and it only takes manipulation from a human to do so. And whoever does this is considered a deity. Whoever does this is considered a deity. There are two major types of stem cells: embryonic stem cells and adult stem cells. Well, that's not true. That's not true. There's one type of stem cell that's created. That's the male stem cell. That's it. There's no female stem cells. And the only stem cells in the embryonic form that you can get are male embryonic stem cells, which are also called tissue stem cells. This is what they're calling it, tissue stem cells. So stem cells can come from the tissues. It can come from the skin. It can come from the eyes. Stem cells are all over the human body, the male human body. They're all over it. Embryonic stem cells, often referred to as ES cells, are stem cells that are derived from the inner cell mass of a mammalian embryo at a very early stage of development, which is a lie too as well. Because how are you going to only get it from what? An embryo, when they say that there's also adult stem cells? How are you going to get it just from mammalian embryo cells at an early stage? That's a lie. When it is composed of a hollow sphere of dividing cells, a blastocyte. Okay? This is how they come up with all of these theories about everything. What do we talk about when we talk about spheres? We know about that. We know about they talking about the planets and shit like that. What are we talking about? Blasting anything? We're talking about when it refers to the Big Bang, the creation, the splitting of the atom, or whatever they're talking about. That's what they're talking about when they're talking about stem cells. They're not just talking about the planets and space and all that shit. Embryonic stem cells from human embryos and from embryos of certain other mammalian species can be grown in tissue cultures. That means that it can be grown in any type of tissue culture. Any type of tissue, stem cells grow because it's in all tissues, but it's in all tissues of one species of human, which is male. Here we go. Stem cells, the main body of a tree, which I'm just breaking this up. Stem, first of all, is what we call the main body of a tree, right? And this is straight from etymology. And it would go from tree trunk or a shrub to parts which rise from the ground and supports the branches. Now, the reason why I got this etymology dictionary form of it is because I wanted to show you the similarities of the bones, how they look inside of the bones, how it looks like a tree trunk or roots from a tree. And this is where blood comes from. This is where all your cells come from. All your cells in your body come from your skeleton. They don't come from anywhere else inside of the body. It comes from the bones. That's where blood comes from. That's where white blood cells, so-called, come from. That's where any cells, even stem cells, come from. And this is just a comparison on how you can break this down. It even says it right here. In modern linguistics, the sense of part of a word that remains unchanged through inflection is from 1830. In biology, stem cell is attested in 1885. Now, I want you guys to realize that they figured this out earlier than that. All right. They published it a little earlier than this too as well, but it's always been known throughout the occult. Now let's look at cells. Small monastery or subordinate monastery. Okay. Later, a small room for a monk or a nun in a monastic establishment. A hermit's dwelling, a small room, storeroom, a hut, in Latin, to hide or conceal. Now, why is cell described like it's something like a jail cell? Because that's what this actually looks like. The bones create individual cells for the blood to be created, sort of like a beehive as well. And this is how the blood is created throughout the body. So the first thing that's created when the body is conceived or when a baby is conceived can't be any of this crap that they talking about as tissues. It has to be the bones that are created first. The bones have to be created to create any type of blood, any type of cell, any type of tissue. The bones have to be created first. Now we're getting into the cells and the different types of cells. This came from an article that was published on PubMed, right? And it talks about adult germline stem cells, okay? the first part of this word right here is spermatonag. I can't pronounce this shit. And this is what they actually want us to run into. These are the problems that they want us to run into. So let me go ahead and find this word. Spermatognagle. I don't know how to spell that shit. And let me find a translation for this. Spermatic. Hold on. Come on, girl. Go back to that. All right, hold on. Let's go back to the beginning. All right. Spermatogonia. I hope I'm saying that right. Spermatogonium stem cells for spermatogenesis, however it's said. But it says that both cells, sperm cells, all right, the SSC, which is the spermatogonial stem cells, and the female germline stem cells, the FGSC, which is the female germline stem cells, are adult pluripotent stem cells, ASCs, in the germline. Now, let me tell you something. I know they're saying that there's a female version, but this is where it gets confusing for me. If there's a female germline sperm cell, right, why are they only getting it from males? And I know it says this in this article that they're getting it from females and males and they're describing it, but listen to what they're saying. The SSCs, which is the spermatogonial stem cells, right, are pluripotent stem cells for generating spermatozygotes, or however you say it. And you know what? I'm not going to even try to translate it. In the testes, and we know what testes are. Only one species of human has testes. That's the male. While the FGSCs are newly identified. That means that they just made this known. They're newly identified pluripotent stem cells for producing octocytes in the ovaries, right? Not in the uterus, in the ovaries. Once the gonadal colonizations, the HPGCs cease to proliferate, and the cells are called man, come on, this is bullshit. Gonocytes and man, look. First of all, right? I can't read word for shit, especially this shit that they're talking about, right? But what they're saying is that this is only recognizable in males, okay? It only proliferates in males. So then how are the female sperm or stem cells produced in the ovaries if it only proliferates in males? So they're giving us double talk, right? When they're saying that these things are related. Now, if we keep on going on, it says the HPGCs will differentiate differently in fetal state 0 or O-like spermatogonia, or however you say it, starting at 14 weeks. Now, look at this thing right here. They said 14 weeks right here, but in that video, they said that these cells cannot be held for longer than 14 days. That means that there has some type of tie to this. But in the video, it said that it was 14 days. In this article, it says 14 weeks after fertilization. Now, these sperm cells or these stem cells cannot be recognizable until 14 weeks. So what are they getting in 14 days? What are they getting in 14 days? They're lying. That's showing right now that they're in conflict with the information. 14 weeks and 14 days. In humans, spermatogenesis, spermatogenesis begins 10 to 13 weeks after birth at puberty. Now, look, this is after birth at puberty. Now, hold on. 10 to 13 years after birth and in puberty, they're creating these sperm cells. Who's creating them? Not females, because females don't create sperm. It's males that are creating this 10 to 14 or 10 to 13 years after birth at puberty. So why aren't they saying it's being done male and female? It's because there's only one species of human that's creating these cells, and that's the males. And they're saying it in their writing, and they're also saying it in their also explanations that we're gonna go through later on. Okay, during the first wave of these sperm cells, right, which is stem cells, some genocytes resume proliferation, begin to move towards the periphery basement membrane. Now, this shit right here that they're talking about, they're trying to say that it's moving to the inner core of the body, of the semi-inferior tubulus in the testes. All right, so it's saying that these cells come from another place, which is the bones, and they start to move into the testicles. And that's how we create sperm. Now, why aren't you doing the same thing to women? They're going to say later on that it does it, but it goes into the ovaries, and that's how the eggs get created. But that is a lie. It only gets created in men, all right? And differentiate into these sperm cells or stem cells, the SSCs are essential for generating spermatozoa or spermatozoa throughout life. Now, hold on. How can the female ones create this when the male ones, right, create this? It says the main feature of human SSCs, which is the spermatogonal stem cells, right? Okay, these cells, one, self-renew to maintain the sperm cells population. Two, production of these sperm cells to support daily production of sperm cells. You see what I'm saying? These cells, which are sperm cells, create and reproduce for themselves, right? The SSC, the heterogenetic, man, I need to fucking break this shit down. I need to let my girl read this shit. Let me get out of this real quick and go to my main PowerPoint so you guys can hear this shit. So it's not coming from my dumb ass, it's coming from this.
Spermatogonial stem cells for spermatogenesis. Features of human SSCs. Both spermatogonial stem cells, SSCs, and female germline stem cells, FGSCs, are adult pluripotent stem cells, ASCs, in the germline. SSCs are pluripotent stem cells for generating spermatozoa in the testis, while FGSCs are newly identified pluripotent stem cells for producing oocytes in the ovary. Once gonadal colonization, HPG cease to proliferate, and the cells are called gonocytes or pre-spermatogonia in males. 338 HPGCS will differentiate directly into fetal state 0 like spermatogonia starting at week 14 after fertilization. 330.
Okay, so look, kind of got ahead of myself, or let him get ahead of me. The HPGCs will differentiate differently into fetal states 0 like spermatogonia starting at week 14 after fertilization. Okay. Now, this right here is saying that the sperm cells are creating a fetus after 14 weeks. This right here is saying that the sperm cells are now being produced inside of the testes of that male, if it's a male, not inside of the female, if it was a female. It says during the first week, hold on, let me go here and do it again.
During.
Hold on. Maybe I should just do one line at a time.
During the first wave of spermatogenesis, some gonocytes resume proliferation, begin to move toward the periphery, basement membrane, of seminiferous tubules in the testis, and differentiate into spermatogonial stem cells.
Okay, so that means that this basement shit that they talking about is actually the testes, the testicles. So this is going down to the testicles in order to create sperm. That's after 10 to 13 years. Okay.
The SSCs are essential for generating spermatozoa throughout life. As germline stem cells, SSCs have features of stem cells, in addition to maintaining spermatogenesis.
Okay. It says it has features of stem cells. No, it is sperm cell. It is stem cells. The sperm is the stem cell. That's what they're talking about. It doesn't have features. It is the stem cell.
The main features of human SSCs include 1. Self-renewing to maintain SSCs population. 2. Production of spermatogonia to support daily production of sperm cells. 342. 3. SSC heterogeneity. 342, 343, 344, 345.
All of those numbers is given references. So don't worry about those numbers. But you see what it says. This means male. SSC is male. That's male sperm cells. There's no FGSCs. There's none. That's why they say it's newly developed or newly identified. There is none. Okay. They just now said that it's none in just recently in like 2014 or some shit like that. But they've always known about the SCCs, which is the spermatogenome, however they fucking say it. They've known about this shit since the 1800s. They've known about it since the 1800s, and it was published in the 1900s, the beginning of the 1900s. I'll show you what I'm talking about.
The main features of human SSCs include 1. Self-renewing to maintain SSCs population. 2. Production of spermatogonia to support daily production of sperm cells. 342. 3. SSC heterogeneity. 342, 343, 344, 345 as discussed below. 4. SSCs can transdifferentiate into other cell types. For example, oocytes, which is functional because the induced ovarian organoids derived from SSCs produce offspring. 346 SSC.
Hold on now. So now we get into what? We get into oocytes, right? What they said is created by what? The FGSCs up here. See how they said, while FGSCs are newly identified pluripotent stem cells from producing oocytes, okay? If they're saying that this comes from the woman, then how is it coming from the SSCs, which is from the male? How is it coming from the male sperm cell or stem cell? How are the oocytes coming from male stem cells, which is sperm? Let me let it read again.
SSCs can transdifferentiate into other cell types, for example, oocytes, which is functional because the induced ovarian organoids derived from SSCs produce offspring. 346 SSCs could be generated.
You see what that said? I hate to keep on going back to this shit. It says, which is functional because the induced ovarins or genoids, right, derived from SSCs, produced offsprings, right? So hold on. If the ovarian organoids derived from the SSCs, why are they telling us that ovarians are only inside of women? Come on, man. Why are they saying that? I'm gonna let it go again.
SSCs can transdifferentiate into other cell types, for example, oocytes, which is functional because the induced ovarian organoids derived from SSCs produce offspring.
So look, they're saying that all the offspring that are produced by SSCs, right, all the offspring that are produced by SSCs, right, create ovarian organoids, or however you say it. That means that the ovarian theory is actually male.
SSCs could be generated from induction from HPSCS 347. Prepubertal SSCs are also induced to initiate meiosis and produce haploid germ cells in vitro.
This part right here, which says prepubertal SSCs, this HPSC shit right here, if we go back up and we find out what this means, which is the genocytes or let this dude read this shit.
Pre-spermatogonia in males.
That's what these HPGCs are. That's what this is.
Pre-spermatogonia in males.
Pre-spermatogonia. That's what this HPGCs are. It's only produced in males because I don't know if women produce sperm, which they don't. So this is only produced in male species. So check out what they're saying about the HPGCs in this article, which was published on PubMed. PubMed it ain't the place where it was published. This is a scientific publication that was made privy to PubMed.
SSCs could be generated from induction from HPSCS. Prepubertal SSCs are also induced to initiate meiosis and produce haploid germ cells in vitro.
The haploid germ cells is what we call the fetus, or what they call in the zygote or anything like that. They're trying to make it seem like, hey man, this ain't the same thing as the creation. This is something that's coming from the creation. But in actuality, they're showing us right here, or they're talking about it right here. And this is not the only one, because I have also articles for the female portion as well, where they came up with this theory that females create the SSCs or the FGSCs. I'm going to show that as well.
Prepubertal SSCs are also induced to initiate meiosis and produce haploid germ cells in vitro. Somatic Sertoma cells are converted to become into SSCs by overexpression of DAZL, DAZ2, and Rule 349. 5. SSCs are rare and account for about 0.02 to 0.03% of all cells in the testes. 350 and 6.
Okay, they're saying that it's only 0.02 to 0.03 of all cells in the testes. All the cells that are in the testes is sperm. So of all the cells in the testes, it's a rare. SSCs are rare and account for about. They don't know if it's all of it or if it's not. That's why they're saying it's an about. But it's all the cells in the testes, which is all the sperm. So SSCs is all the sperm, regardless if it's 0.02 or 0.03. It's all the same. And SSCs, which comes from the male sperm, also creates what? Ovarian organoid. It creates this shit right here. You know what I'm talking about. Let me do it. Let me do it.
Ovarian organoids derived from SSCs produce offspring.
So hold on. If all the ovarian organoids, right, which I assume, if you look this up, it's going to tell you that ovarian organoids has something to do with the ovaries and eggs of a woman. If that's all created from the SSCs, which is what? The male spermatogenous, blah, 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 whatever it is. You know what I'm saying?
Spermatogonial stem cell.
It's all created from the male spermatogonial stem cells. Then where is there an egg involved in any of this shit? If the male sperm creates the ovaries inside of a woman. That's crazy, man. Now let's look at the next one right here, where it says female germline stem cells for oogenesis. I'm not gonna read it because I'm horrible at reading medical shit. But the reason why I understand it is because I looked up all of these words and I put it in plain English. I don't want you guys to see what my plain English said. I want you guys to see what these guys are saying so you can go back and try and prove it wrong. Because I'm telling you right now, if you look into this and you find out when these publications were made and who made them, these are the same people today that are telling you opposite of this shit, opposite of it, about the womb and all of that stuff. And this is an easy way to prove it to you if you don't realize what I'm talking about. So let's go into it.
Female germline stem cells for oogenesis. In contrast to well-known SSCs, FGSCs are newly identified germline stem cells in mammals.
So they're saying they already know about this, but these right here are newly identified. And you'll be amazed when they identified this. If they identified it in males, why couldn't they identify it in females at the same time? You know why? Because now they're lying about newly identifying this shit. Because the only ones they were able to identify in male and female are the male ones. That was it. They didn't find none in the females. That's why they're saying it's newly identified.
Female germline stem cells for oogenesis. In contrast to well-known SSCs, FGSCs are newly identified germline stem cells in mammals, including humans. It is reported that juvenile and adult mouse ovaries have mitotically active germ cells, but the same group subsequently indicates that both bone marrow and peripheral blood serve as a source of these germ cells in adulthood. FGSCs are identified in neonatal and adult ovaries, which are isolated from ovaries and differentiate into functional oocytes after transplantation into mouse ovaries. Thus,
hold on.
FGSCs are able.
Hold on. The only way they say they just found these in female mouse ovaries. They just found these in female mouse ovaries. Guess how they just found them in female mouse ovaries? After intercourse. Why would you find these in mouse ovaries if it wasn't after intercourse? They about to explain it right here.
Thus, FGSCs are able to undergo postnatal neooogenesis, possibly providing oocytes for reproductive life.
There they have it right there. They found this in mouse ovaries, right? After undergoing postnatal neooogenesis, intercourse, possibly providing oocytes from reproductive life. This thing right here, these oocytes, it's the same thing that they said came from what? SSCs. Same shit. They talking about the same shit. They found these cells inside the ovaries after intercourse. Let me find the oocyte shit that they were talking about. Here we go right here.
SSCs can transdifferentiate into other cell types, for example, oocytes, which is functional because the induced ovarian organoids derived from SSCs produce offspring.
There we have it. Which goes right into what they saying right here. The FSCs, the FGSCs are able to undergo postnatal neogenesis, right? Possibly providing oocytes, right? This right here, postnatal neogenesis, this they're saying this in all the words. They're saying this in some type of transfer of the SSCs into the female mouse's ovaries. Now, how can you transfer SSCs from a male into a female's ovaries? Intercourse or some type of artificial insemination. Okay, let's keep on going.
Possibly providing oocytes for reproductive life. The finding of FGSCs has updated the traditional idea that the ovary possesses a finite oocyte reserve before birth in female mammals.
So hold on. The finding of FGSCs has updated the traditional idea that the ovaries possess a finite octocyte, which is an egg now that they're saying that comes from the woman, but it doesn't. It comes from the male because it said it right here that it comes from the male. It said it right here that it comes from the male. Gave an example, octocytes, which is functional because of induced overall ogeninoid derived from SSCs. I know I keep fucking that up because I'm telling you, these people, they're telling us right to our face where these octocytes come from, and they come from males.
For example, oocytes, which is functional because the induced ovarian organoids derived from SSCs.
What? The ovarian organoids derived from SSCs. This right here, organoids, is saying the organ, the organ, not the organ, but the organism, right? The ovarian organisms derived from SSCs. That means, but what we call eggs is not eggs. It's just sperm that was collected in the ovaries in order to create life. They're saying this in their publication. I'm not saying that it's true, but all scientists are saying this shit too. All scientists are agreeing with this. Let's go to this part right here.
The finding of FGSCs has updated the traditional idea that the ovary possesses a finite oocyte reserve before birth in female mammals. Thus, proliferation and differentiation of FGSCs may replenish the gradual exhaustion of reserved primordial follicles throughout the female's fertile life.
Okay, so it's saying that the FGSCs may, all right, it says thus proliferation and differentiation of FGSCs may replenish the gradual exhaustion of reserved primordial follicles, which is like they're saying the eggs, throughout the female's fertile life. So FGSCs is what's proliferating the gradual exhaustion when the actual creation of them is the SSCs. So it's saying that the female stem cells is causing women to lose their eggs, which doesn't make any sense. When the male stem cells create the sperm, wouldn't the female stem cells create the eggs? But no, it's saying that it's causing the what? The loss of the eggs. Okay, let's read. Let them read it again. Where is it at?
The finding of FGSCs has updated the traditional idea that the ovary possesses a finite oocyte reserve before birth in female mammals. Thus, proliferation and differentiation of FGSCs may replenish the gradual exhaustion of reserved primordial follicles throughout the female's fertile life. It has been shown that infertility and death.
Check it out. It says the FGSCs, which is the so-called female stem cells, right, may replenish the gradual exhaustion of reserved primordial follicles. Isn't that double talk? How you replenish something and exhaustion, how you replenish it and the gradual exhaustion. And see, this is why we have such a hard time understanding this shit. It's because double talk is used as a positive and a negative. If it's gradual exhaustion, that's mean it's a gradual loss, right, of the reserved primordial follicles throughout the female's fertile life. Now, if the female has a gradual exhaustion or a gradual loss of the primordial follicles, which is supposed to be her reproductive property or her reproductive atoms or eggs, then she's losing eggs from her own stem cells. And they just identified this, newly identified. And I'm going to show you when they had just identified it as well. But I'm saying that is a lie, that they ain't identified shit, that there are no eggs in the beginning. There is no eggs in the beginning. All there is a womb. The seed or the egg comes from the man, from the male stem cells, and is proliferated inside of what? The ovaries. And that right there contributes to reproductive life. It's saying it right here. It's saying it right here.
Thus, FGSCs are able to undergo postnatal neurogenesis, possibly providing oocyte for reproductive life. The finding of FGSCs has updated the traditional idea that the ovary possesses a finite oocyte reserve before birth in female mammals.
It's saying the finding of this, right, is proof that the ovaries do not possess a finite oocyte reserve, which means egg reserve, before birth in the female mammals, meaning that women aren't born with all of their eggs before birth. Okay, we know conception comes before birth. So if it's not possessed before conception, that means that a woman doesn't have eggs in her after she's born. It's saying that she doesn't have a finite amount of them. So hold on. Then if it's saying right here that these eggs, right, in the ovarian function, it's crazy. If it's saying that these eggs in the reproductive process are created by the male sperm and they don't have a finite number of them after birth, that means that how do the eggs get in the woman after she's born? After she's born, she just grows eggs inside of her. When the male sperm is in the male before he's born and after he's born. And then when he turns 13 or 10 to 13 years old, now it transfers from the body into the testicles. So that means that the male has these stem cells or these sperm cells in his body already before he even has them inside of his testicles. That means that also the women don't have them inside of them after they're born. That's what these scientists are all saying. And see, I think that they have to have plausible deniability. And they make it so it's like double talk. It makes it so it's double talk. This is the double talk right here.
Thus, proliferation and differentiation of FGSCs may replenish the gradual exhaustion of reserved primordial follicles throughout the female's fertile life. It has been shown that infertility and death of women are partly attributed to ovarian function-related diseases, for example, polycystic ovarian syndrome, premature ovarian failure, and ovarian cancer.
So they're saying that the FGSCs of a woman causes gradual exhaustion of what? Of the premortal follicles throughout the female's fertile life, which is the supposedly eggs that she creates. It has been shown that that infertility and death of the woman are partially attributed to ovarian function. Hold on. So the ovarian function is causing women to die? Related diseases, for example? These right here.
Polycystic ovarian syndrome, premature ovarian failure, and ovarian cancer.
Now hold on. Check this shit out. Listen to what they're saying. If they're saying this is the possible cause of it, the FGSCs, right? Listen to this shit right here.
Applications of FGSCs in reproductive medicine have significant clinical implications in the treatment of female reproductive aging and ovarian function-related disorders.
All right. You see, they say in the treatment of it, meaning like the administering of FGSCs, right, into the woman now. This is some of the things.
For example, FGSCs transplantation might be applied to patients with ovarian cancers or premature ovarian failure as a strategy for fertility preservation and therapy in females. Fig 6. Actually, ovary tissue possesses several types of somatic stem cells yet. For example, human oocysts, ovarian surface epithelium, stem cells, which express SOX2 and SSEA4, but FGSCs do not, although they can form oocyte-like cells in culture.
Hold on. Did you hear what was said? Actually, ovarian tissues possess several types of somatic stem cells. Yet, for example, human OSEs, ovarian surface epithelium, stem cells, which express SOX2, and SSEA4s. Now, why would they put this SSE when we know what SS stands for? SS stands for what? Spermatogenous stem cells, or stems. That's what it stands for. That's what the SS stands for in this. And they're saying that, hold on, where is it at? They're saying that this right here, that is already in the tissue of the woman, right? But FGSCs do not. But they're not. Although they can form octocyte-like cells in culture, a human VSELs are very small embryonics, very small embryonic-like cells, very small embryonic-like stem cells, which with nuclear OCT4's expression and LGR5 plus. In addition, in other words, what they're saying is that these FGSCs don't come from women. They don't come from women. These come from the SSCs of a man. They're implanted into women during intercourse. Okay? These cells can change into anything that the body needs. That's why they call them differentiate and undifferentiated. Check it out. They call SSCs differentiated and undifferentiated. Hold on, where is it at? Here's the differentiated part right here. Where is it at? Because I'm telling you, man, they're telling us that these cells can change into any cell that the body needs. If it needs it for reproduction, cool. If it needs it for ovaries, cool. If it needs it for kidneys, cool. That means that the woman gets her stem cells from the man through intercourse, which is crazy. Women are getting these stem cells from men naturally through sex. And this is the proof. Differentiated in spermostaginal stem cells. Let me reread. Let this reread right here for it.
During the first wave of spermatogenesis, some gonocytes resume proliferation, begin to move toward the periphery.
Hold on. So we know what this is, right? Spermatogenesis. This means it's sperm that's going from the man into the female, and then it's traveling throughout the female's body.
During the first wave of spermatogenesis, some gonocytes resume proliferation, begin to move toward the periphery, basement membrane of seminiferous tubules in the testis, and
the same way. Hold on. The same way it does in the man to the testes, it does it to the woman, but it goes through the vagina throughout the entire body. Women are getting stem cells from men already. They already getting stem cells naturally. They don't need to be placed on stem cells. They don't need to have no stem cell treatment. But see, what they're doing is they're putting the FGSCs, which is the SSCs from the man, into the woman. And it's causing all kind of problems because it's not going through the spermogenesis process.
During the first wave of spermatogenesis, some gonocytes resume proliferation, begin to move toward the periphery, basement membrane of seminiferous tubules in the testis, and differentiate into spermatogonadal stem cells. Point 341. The SSCs are essential for generating spermatozoa throughout life. As germline stem cells, SSCs have features of stem cells, in addition to maintaining spermatogenesis.
Straight up. All of this stuff, man, is put out And they know that we don't read. They know that the normal person don't read shit like this, let alone gonna look up what these words are and what they mean. They know that we ain't gonna do that. So they put out information to us like at the beginning of this, where they say that scientists create human embryo without egg and sperm, but they are creating with stem cells. And if stem cells are sperm, they just lied about that shit. They creating it with the sperm. There is no egg. There is no egg.
It has been shown that infertility and death of women are partly attributed to ovarian function-related diseases. For example, polycystic ovarian syndrome, premature ovarian failure, and ovarian cancer.
And this is what happens when they add the FGSCs from a man to a woman, and they trying to call them female.
Applications of FGSCs in reproductive medicine have significant clinical implications in the treatment of female reproductive aging and ovarian function-related disorders. For example, FGSCs transplantation might be applied to patients with ovarian cancers or premature ovarian failure as a strategy for fertility preservation and therapy in females. Fig 6.
But look, now it says this right here. Actually, right, look, they're not lying to us. They're saying that, hey, they implant these, which they get from men, and they call them female germline stem cells, but they're actually spermogenital stem cells. They are sperm stem cells.
Actually, ovary tissue possesses several types of somatic stem cells yet. For example, humanose, ovarian surface epithelium, stem cells, which express SOX2 and SSEA4, but FGSCs do not, although they can form oocyte-like cells in culture, and human VSCLs, a very small embryonic-like stem cells with nuclear OCT4 expression and LGR5+, in addition to fecal stem cells and granulosa stem cells. However, FGSCs are germline stem cells, which will be discussed as follows.
Okay, now they're going to discuss it right here. Features of FGSCs, all right?
Features of FGSCs. As germline stem cells, FGSCs have characteristics of adult pluripotent stem cells, in addition to maintaining oogenesis. The main features of FGSCs in mice and humans are summarized as follows. 1. FGSCs show similar morphology to those of SSCs with large nuclei and little cytoplasm.
So what they're saying is FGSCs show similar morphology, which means that they're similar to SSCs, which in actuality are SSCs, okay? Because they have the same makeup. And they just identified these in females just recently. But they've known about the male ones, which is the sperm SCs, since the 1800s. That doesn't sound weird to you? You mean to tell me they only experimenting on men, not women? They only been getting stem cells from men, not women? Because if they just figured this out, that means that they've been getting their stem cells all along from men. All of them. From the embryos, which are male embryos. They haven't been getting any from the females. Any at all. And then they've been transplanting them into females, calling them FGSCs, and now they finding out that the shit is causing other side effects to women. Instead of the natural way of intercourse and letting it take its course and go throughout the woman's body through its vaginal secretions, no, they just implanting the shit into the woman, injecting it into the woman. And by the way, they created the syringe based off of the male phallus. That's all I'm saying. All of this shit is based off of male freaking genetics, male anatomy. All of this shit is based off of it. Let's go to 2.
2. FGSCs isolated from neonatal mice display the string-forming cell configuration, and ecadherin mediates the cell contact at membrane connection sites.
And this is what they're saying is happening at the egg and the sperm. The string form cell configuration. They're saying this is how the SSCs get into the woman. All right, it attaches, it makes cell contact at the membrane connection site, saying that the SSCs connect to the membrane of the woman's ovaries, and that's how it gets into her system. That's how the fetus attaches to the ovary walls. I mean, to the uterus walls. That's how it attaches.
Three, FGSCs express membrane marker fragile/IFID3, while MVH and alkaline phosphatase are mainly localized to the cytoplasm and also expressed on the membrane.
Another way it's connecting.
4, IFID3, DAZL, MVH, OD4, PRDM1/BLIMP1, and DPPA3 are markers for FGSCs, in addition to TERT and alkaline phosphatase, and cell cycle-related transcription factors c-MYC and EGR1 are also expressed in FGSCs.
If it's expressed in FGSCs and FGSCs come from the SSCs, which is sperm stem cells, then what does that tell you? That tells you that all of these acronyms that they made up, which is just transferring of minerals and enzymes into the woman's membrane of her ovaries or the membranes of her uterus, all of this stuff is occurring because of the sperm stem cells. All of it is occurring because of the sperm stem cells.
FGSCs could be converted to female ES-like cells under ESC culture conditions with the addition of vitamin C and valproic acid.
Hold on, check it out. What they're saying. They're saying FGSCs can be converted to female ES-like cells. Why are they telling us that it could this is supposed to be female growth stem cells, right? Oh, that's not how it's actually going. Germline stem cells. That's what it is. Female germline stem cells. Why are they saying that these female germline stem cells could be converted to female ES-like cells under ESC culture conditions with the addition of vitamin C and vaporic acid, meaning that they're changing this just like they do make a female cannabis plant into a hermaphrodite plant. They're changing these cells through alchemy. When you turn a female cannabis plant into a hermaphrodite plant, you use colloidal silver to change the genes of certain cells in the plant, and it forms a male plant part. Meaning, like, if it's the male plant part is considered the penis, it forms a penis on a female plant. So that's exactly what they're saying. They're changing these FGSCs, which are actually sperm stem cells. They call them female germline stem cells, but they're actually sperm stem cells, SSC, right? They're changing them to female ESCs by using vitamin C and vaporic acid, which shows similar characteristics to ESCs in genomic imprinting. Okay? So they're changing the way that these cells act inside of the human body by adding vitamin C and vaporic acid. This ain't me saying this shit. These are scientists that agree, because all of these papers that go on PubMed or all of these websites, these science websites, have to be peer reviewed by other scientists. And if they don't agree with it, they cannot sign off on it.
FGSCs have high telomerase activity. 6. FGSCs could be converted to female ES-like cells under ESC culture conditions with the addition of vitamin C and valproic acid, which show similar characteristics to ESCs in genomic imprinting, formation of the 3 germ layers and chimeras, and germline transmission capacity. 7. FGSCs self-renew to maintain proliferation with vigorous mitosis capacity.
Check it out right here. 3 germ layers and chimeras. Find out what that word chimera means, and you'll be amazed that they're changing male sperm cells into chimeras, germ layers and chimeras. They're changing these SSCs into FGSCs in a chimeric fashion, which in alchemy you will find out they are doing it through chemical transformation. That's what they're doing. And they're using basic chemicals. They're using vitamin C and valeric acid. Simple shit. They're turning sperm cells into female, so-called female cells because they just demonstrate similar characteristics to ESCs. Now, why is that important? Because they figured out how to change sperm into female and male offspring. They figured it out. That's how they can tell you that if you want a female, if you want a baby girl, all we got to do is change the genes. This is how they change the genes with vitamin C and valeric acid. The reason why it takes me so long to make these videos is because I be looking up all of this shit. I don't want to be proven wrong, but I'm giving people the chance to go and prove me wrong. If you can prove me wrong in this right here, or what these people are saying, they do it in mice first before they do it in humans.
Could be converted to female ES-like cells under ESC culture conditions with the addition of vitamin C and valproic acid, which show similar characteristics to ESCs in genomic imprinting, formation of the 3 germ layers and chimeras, and germline transmission capacity. 7. FGSC self-renew to maintain proliferation with vigorous mitosis capacity. 8. FGSCs have the capacity to produce normal oocytes to support the generation of fertile offspring after transplantation into mouse ovaries.
Now check it out. These ESCs, believe it or not, that they're saying that they're changing, right? They're changing these FGSCs could be converted to female ES, which is embryonic cell-like cells under embryonic cell stem cells, culture conditions, which with the addition of vitamin C and valeric acid, which shows similar characteristics to what? Embryonic stem cells. So they're telling you that they're changing female germ stem cells, which are actually sperm stem cells, into embryonic cell-like cells under embryonic stem cell cultures. And they're doing it with vitamin C and valeric acid. Okay? And they're saying that it shows the characteristics of embryonic stem cells. They're not saying that it's not. It says it's showing characteristics. So they're changing these cells right here into these embryonic stem cells. Now check it out. This FGSCs are already sperm cells. They're already sperm cells. And they're saying that they're changing them to embryonic stem cells in the genomic imprinting. It's crazy that people aren't picking up on this shit. It's crazy that people aren't picking up on this shit. Let me find the end of this one, and we can go on and keep on reading through it. Right here.
FGSCs have the capacity to produce normal oocytes to support the generation of fertile offspring after transplantation into mouse ovaries. Primordial follicle-like structures form in vitro co-culture with...
Hold on. FGSCs have the capacity to produce normal oocytes to support the generation of fertile offspring. The generations of fertile offspring after transplantation. So why are they transplanting FGSCs into female mouse? I'm telling you, because this is male sperm. They're putting it in female mouse ovaries. All right, and that's how they create this damn chimera. That's how they create chimeras. Let me show you guys what a chimera is. Okay, let me show you guys what a chimera is. Look at this shit, chimera. An organism, organ, or part consisting of 2 or more tissues of different genetic compositions produced as a result of organ transplant, grafting, or genetic engineering. And they're telling you this in these writings like it ain't shit. That they're taking male sperm, turning them into female sperm, right? And then transplanting them into mouse ovaries to create what? An embryonic stem cell. They're telling you this. That's why it's chimeric. That's why it's chimera. So hold on. Let's finish going through this because I kind of got off track.
FGSCs have the capacity to produce normal oocytes to support the generation of fertile offspring after transplantation into mouse ovaries. Primordial follicle-like structures form in vitro co-culture with granulosa cells from neonatal mouse ovary. Zoocytes are also generated in xenografted human ovary tissue after being injected into adult human ovarian cortical tissue biopsies and then xenografted into non-SC.
Hold on. You're moving too fast, bro. You're moving too fast. All right. It says right here, right? Self-renewal to maintain proliferation of vigorous mitosis capacity. FGSCs have the capacity to produce normal oocytes, which is like the eggs, to support the generation of fertile offspring after transplantation into mice. Then it says the primordial follicle-like structures form in vitro co-cultures with granulosa cells from the neonatal mouse ovaries. Period. That's supposed to be a period. Spread that out. So hold on. They're telling you right now, after they transplant the male sperm, now this is a human male sperm, right, into the female mouse's ovaries, and her prenatal follicle-like structures form, which is supposed to be what? The eggs. In vitro co-cultures with granulosa cells from neonatal mouse ovaries. So they're telling us right here, first of all, this FGSCs is not animals, it's not mice. It's not mice sperm. This is human sperm. We're still talking about humans. They're putting this in the ovaries of a mouse to create that so-called eggs, right? And they're doing it so it supports what? Future generations' fertile offspring. So from that, they're able to bear mice with human DNA, with human characteristics. Hence how they got the mouse with the ear on its back that people have been looking at in science all these years. Like, oh, they grafted a mouse. They grafted a human ear on a mouse. No, they didn't, dumbass. They grew it like that. The mouse was born with that ear on its back because it's part human. It's part human. It's part human. And by utilizing vitamin C and vaporic acid, they're able to transform these sperm cells into any cell of the body that they wanted. And they were able to do this through chimeric means, which is alchemy. Chimeric means. See, germ layers and chimeras. They've been able to do this shit. Okay, let me get back to it. When they're talking about primordial ooze or whatever that shit is, they're talking about the secretions of the woman's womb. That's what they're talking about. The primordial ooze that they talk about in these religions, like the Roman religions, where you have the primordial ooze of the giants and all that shit. These motherfuckers are creating this like petri dish inside of the woman's prenatal ooze, which is her body's oozing. Okay. Now it's not no eggs that they doing this in. They're doing this inside of the woman's ovaries, or not ovaries, uterus, which is like the petri dish. And I'm gonna show you guys what I'm talking about here in a little bit. I know I keep breaking off, man, because each point flashes in my mind and I see this stuff and I have to say something about it.
Primordial follicle-like structures formed in vitro co-culture with granulosa cells from neonatal mouse ovaries. Oocytes are also generated in xenografted human ovary tissue after being injected into adult human ovarian cortical tissue biopsies and then xenografted into not-SCID female mice. 9. Given the germline transmission ability of it.
Yo, check it out. What did it just say? Human ovary tissue after being what? Injected into adult human ovarian cortical tissues, biopsies, and then extrografted into NODSCID female mice. They're telling you that they're putting human tissue inside of these mice to create what they're, oh shit, what the fuck just happened? To create these chimeras that they're able to do these tests on. The mouse with the ear on his back is the chimera. Half mouse, half human. It ain't got shit to do with grafting. It ain't got shit to do with that. They tell us that because they're saying, well, we can't really grow a mouse with human DNA because that's against natural law. That's against the natural order of things. But they're actually growing it. They don't have to splice anything, King Samo. They don't have to splice it. They don't have to do any of that. All they got to do is take the male sperm, treat it with vitamin C and valproic acid, and then introduce the grafted skin or the skin cell that they want to grow, and it grows that way because these SSCs are what they call indirect or non-direct creations. Let me show you what I'm talking about. This right here is the differentiation, right? When you differentiate something, right, you separate the differences of it. That means if I want to differentiate the human species, the first thing I would do is separate the men from the women. That's differentiate. Now, these sperm cells can differentiate any part of the body that they want. The sperm cells can be the bone. The sperm cells can be the skin. It can be an eye. It can be a liver. It can be a kidney. Whatever it wants to be, it could be this. That's what the stem cell is. Now, I know what people are asking because I asked this question too. Well, if men got sperm inside their body, how come they age? And how come they just don't make a new liver if they have some type of liver disease? It doesn't work like that. The sperm that you have in your body is coming from your bones, right? And it's being gathered in the testes. And once it makes it to the testes, it's only for one reason, and that's for procreation. If you want to get the stem cells before they reach the testes, you got to get them from the bones. Once you get them from the bones, then you can introduce in any cell you want. Like say, if I want to make a new eye, I would remove some eye tissue and I would mix it with that stem cell from the bone, and then it would create me a new eye, bro. Same thing if you wanted to create a new heart, a liver, a kidney, your skin, a new organ, a new part of your body, a new arm. It would do the same thing, man. It would do the same thing. Straight up. Because these stem cells are these SSCs, which is sperm stem cells, can differentiate or undifferentiate to any organ of the body, to any part of the body that it wants to form an organ with. It can differentiate. But once it gets into the testes, it's only for one thing. It's only for procreation. Now, once it comes out of the testes and goes into the woman, if it's not creating a body, and this is what the thing is, the premortal ooze of the lady's uterus attracts this sperm to the uterus walls, and then it creates a human body from it. Now, the rest of the sperm that didn't attach to the woman's body goes and it disperses throughout the woman's body, and it helps her create whatever need. It helps her rejuvenate whatever need she needs in her body. So in other words, men, we're actually helping a woman live a healthy life. by ejaculating in them. Hence why they created all of these different ways to stop the male sperm from going inside of the woman, like contraception, killing the sperm with spermicide. You know what I'm saying? And also telling women that they don't need men. That's another way of doing it. Like I said, none of this stuff that we're worried about other than gender warfare is actually prevalent. None of it. Straight up. And the only reason why I ain't been shut down right now with YouTube is because they know ain't nobody watching this shit. They know ain't no. Look how many people up in here. 3. 1 person in freaking Rumble and 2 people in fucking YouTube. So that I'm not a threat to them. But once a lot of people start knowing this shit, oh my God, it's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be crazy. Because then you ain't gonna have these little cults like people that be doing sperm retention, right? And it's not gonna be a story about whether creation starts in a woman or not, because they doing that right now. They already telling you that they don't need a woman. But I'm telling you, if they don't have the sperm, they ain't gonna have a man. They ain't gonna have no stem cells. But they don't need a woman to make a baby no more. They don't need that. They already got artificial wombs. And if the real life came from the man, which it does in the form of a stem cell, then they don't really need the womb. They already got the womb. They already created artificial wombs. They've been doing this shit for years. They've been transplanting ovaries and uteruses into other women for years. And we're gonna talk about that shit too in a little bit.
Primordial follicle-like structures form in vitro co-culture with granulosa cells from neonatal mouse ovaries. Oocytes are also generated in xenografted human ovary tissue after being injected into adult human ovarian cortical tissue biopsies and then xenografted into not SCID female mice. 9. Given the germline transmission ability of FGSCs, genome editing of FGSCs might be used to treat genetic diseases in humans and to alter specific traits in animals.
Now, let me know if you guys can hear what my computer is saying, because I don't know if it is or not, if you guys can hear it. So I'm assuming you guys can hear what this computer is reading out, because it's saying it's reading this stuff better than I can read. That's why I have the computer doing it. But check this shit out. If it's saying that they're grafting grafting these FGSCs into mice to create something else, then what are they getting from this, right? Let me go back to right here.
Given the germline transmission ability of FGSCs, genome editing of FGSCs might be used to treat genetic diseases in humans and to alter specific traits in animals.
To alter specific traits in the animals, i.e., that mouse with the ear on his back. That's what they're doing. That's how they alter specific traits of animals utilizing FGSCs, which is actually what? It's actually SSCs, which is what? Spermogenital stem cells for spermogenesis. Okay? That's what they're doing this shit with. And they're telling us straight out that they've been doing this for hundreds of years. They've been doing this for hundreds of years, man. Right? And now they say that they all of a sudden found the female germ stem cells. Come on now. How stupid can we be? Check this out.
For example, transgenic animals, through introducing genes with functional importance and commercial value into FGSCs, have been obtained.
What is it?
Transgenic animals. Transgenic animals. Transgenic animals.
All right? Check it out. What animals you think they talking about? Transgenic. The only animals that are capable of being transgenic are human animals.
For example, transgenic animals, through introducing genes with functional importance and commercial value into FGSCs, have been obtained.
Really? So that means that when a male goes and gets gender reassignment surgery, what do they take from them? They take the scrotum and they take the genital. They ain't telling them what they doing with that shit, but they telling us right here what they doing with it. What they doing with it right here.
For example,
transgenic animals
through introducing genes with functional importance and commercial value into FGSCs have been obtained.
Exactly. Through functional importance and commercial value into FGSCs, which is the male sperm, which is the sperm stem cell, have been obtained from transgenic animals. Humans. Here we go. We're going to get into it some more. We go to the end of it. Well, I can't find the end. Let's just stop right here.
Transgenic rats with FAT1 gene, a Sonora vitis elegans gene for the synthesis of N3 polyunsaturated fatty acids from N6 fatty acids, have been generated using FGSCSN3.
Now they have an addition to this. All of these fat ones and N6 fatty acids and N3 polyunsaturated fatty acids, guess what those are? Those are all the sperm. That's what the sperm is made up of. The F1 gene and the fatty acids and the polyunsaturated fatty acids and the N6 fatty acids, right, have been generated using what? FGSCs N3. They call them N3s now. See, because they're calling them polyunsaturated fatty acids. N3 all they've done is attach the N3 polyunsaturated fatty acids to FGSCs. See? And their deficiencies is associated with human disease, including cardiovascular disease, hyperinsulin, whatever, and type 2 diabetes. Now check it out. Let's go over this again.
Transgenic rats with FAT1 gene, a Sonora vitis elegans gene for the synthesis of N3 polyunsaturated fatty acids from N6 fatty acids, have been generated using polyunsaturated fatty acids are essential for human development. FGSCSN3 and their deficiency is associated with human diseases, including cardiovascular disease, hyperinsulinemia, and type 2 diabetes.
So hold on, hold the horses. So these genes are essential for human development. FGSCs N3s, which is the male sperm, and the polyunsaturated fatty acids, which is the N6 fatty acids, which is the FAT1 gene and all that shit, the elegans genes, all that shit, right? And their deficiencies is associated with human diseases. So the male sperm that's been changed to a FGSC and added to these polyunsaturated fats is attributed to human disease, and including cardiovascular disease and hyperinsulinemia, however they say it, and type 2 diabetes. So how you think these people are getting this into their body? How you think they're getting this into their body if it's not through normal means? The same way a woman gets it into her body. It's injected into her body through intercourse, but the quickest way to do it without intercourse is injecting it in your body with the phallus, with the angus phallus. That's how it's getting in there. And look, let's look at this part right here.
Most mammals do not have FAT1 gene in their genomes, thus cannot convert N6 into N3 polyunsaturated fatty acids, which should be acquired by food intake. The FAT1 transgenic farm animals will provide an alternative food source of N3 polyunsaturated fatty acids for humans.
What? Says most mammals don't have that FAT1 gene in their genomes. All right, but they can convert N6, which is the fatty acids, right? All humans can convert that, right? Meaning that it can consume it and eat it, no problem, into the M3 fatty acids, which should be acquired by food intake. Well, we ain't getting it by food intake no more because we got so many we got so many vegans and vegetarians and people that hate meat now, they don't eat it. So now these animals, right, the FAT1 transgenic farm animals will provide an alternative food source for N3 polyunsaturated fat acids for humans. So this FAT1 transgenic farm animal, which is that genetically made meat that they making in the lab, that lab grown meat is going to be now the new food source because we don't take the freaking regular shit no more. See, and the reason why they're doing this is because it's a means to the end. And the means to an end is this. Hey, if they take it, it's under their own cognizance. They're taking it because they want to take it. It ain't got nothing to do with us because nobody's forcing you to do anything. It's all free will. It's all free will. And that's under the guise of this natural order of things that they've been playing on us and shit. They're telling us this is natural. This is not natural. This is unnatural. Anytime you got to create a chimera in order to get some type of effect from an animal is unnatural. It's unnatural. So this is the origin of the FGSCs. This is how they came up with the FGSCs just recently. Right? Just recently. This is how they isolate the female germ stem cells from mice and human ovaries by differential adhesion. This is how they get the FGSCs from the mice ovaries. All right, here we go.
Spermatogonial stem cell, SSC, counterparts known as female germline stem cells, FGSCS, were found in the mammalian ovary in 2004.
Well, hold on. They said this was found in 2004, right? In the mammalian ovaries in 2004. FGSCs is the female germ. It's the counterpart known as the female germ. This is the counterpart of the SSC, which is the sperm. It's the male one. And this is the FGSC, which is the female one. It was found in 2004, right?
Although the existence of FGSCS in the mammalian postnatal ovary is still under controversy, FGSC discovery encourages investigators to better understand the various aspects of these cells.
Okay. You know why it's in controversy? Because how are you going to say it comes from a female when it actually is created from a male? That's why it's in controversy. That's why it's in controversy. In order to create this, they're adding what to it? Vitamin C and veripic acid. That's how they're getting this. So yeah, it's under controversy because it's a male sperm turning to a female so-called sperm or female so-called stem cell. Okay? Just wanted to get that out there. I know I said I was going to do that.
Although the existence of FGSCS in the mammalian postnatal ovary is still under controversy, FGSC discovery encourages investigators to better understand the various aspects of these cells.
All right. Let's hit this up.
However, their existence is not accepted by all scientists in the field because isolation of FGSCS by fluorescent activated cell sorting, FACS, has not been reproducible. In this study, We use differential adhesion to isolate and enrich FGSCS from mouse and human ovaries and subsequently culture them in vitro.
So check it out. They're saying that they can't reproduce the way that they found this. That's why it's in controversy, because they said that we got it from the female ovaries. Well, when they try to reproduce it and get it from the female ovaries, it ain't show up. They could not redo it. So the only way that they can do it is by getting it from the male sperm, from the testes. That's the only way they can get these sperm cells or stem cells. They can't get it from female ovaries. You can't get stem cells from female ovaries. You can only get it from male testes. Okay? And the way that they get it is from FAST, fluorescent activated cell sorting. And they weren't able to use this fluorescent activated cell sorting to sort out the FGSCs from a female ovaries. Why couldn't they do that? You know why? Because they're not there. They're not there. The only way they're getting this is from putting a male sperm inside of a mouse ovaries to get these FGSCs, the female germ stem cells. And they're doing it, they're getting it from the human ovaries and subsequently cultured them in vitro. See, from mouse and human ovaries. You might as well just forget about this. If they're getting them from the mouse ovaries, why they need the human ovaries? They don't. They're not using humans to get this shit. They're using mice to get this shit by putting male sperm in the female mouse to create what? To create a chimera. I can't make this shit up. Okay? They're getting it in vitro, which means it's artificial means.
FGSCS were able to proliferate in vitro and express germ cell-specific markers VESA, DAZZLE, LIMP1, Fragiles, Stella, and OCT4 at the protein level.
Now, all of these things right here are the different layers of a SSC. All of these create the SSC. This is what's in the SSC. So they're saying at this level of the materials, they're able to get this at a protein level. Not that it's actually here, but just from the proteins right here, they're saying that it creates FGSCs. Not that it's an actual FGSC. It could be still sperm, but hey, the proteins say it's FGSCs. It's female germ stem cells. Okay? Women, y'all need to watch what y'all be doing with y'all.
Moreover, mouse and human FGSCS were, respectively, cultured for more than 4 months and 1 month in culture. Both mouse and human FGSCS maintain the expression of germ cell-specific markers over these times. In vitro cultured FGSCS spontaneously produced oocyte-like cells, OLCs, which expressed oocyte-relevant markers.
Now check it out. They're saying that these cultures were able to create oocytes, like the beginning of a fetus. And it was able to do this in vitro, meaning that under artificial means. So our results demonstrated that differential adhesion allows reproduction, a reproducible isolation of FGSCs that are able to proliferate in vitro over time. So they're saying over time, they're able to create a fetus. Ain't that the same shit that these people, that this lady right here said? Ain't this the same shit? That's the same shit that they saying that they just now doing. But they were able to do it. They were able to do it back then when they freaking realized this shit. In vitro. This is it right here. Okay? And they're utilizing what? Mouse a mouse ovaries or a mouse uterus to get it. That's what they're doing, creating chimeras. So anything that's created from this is not totally human. It's half animal and half human. And they're talking about they getting sperm stem cells from the babies. They can get them from anybody. They can get them from anybody. I want to show you guys something because our cerebral cortex has spinal fluid in it. And that's also another thing that they're saying is a major contributor to stem cells. And I want to show y'all something. This right here, this picture right here. Hold on, let me turn it back. This image right here is the cerebral spinal fluid circulation. Totally different circulation from the cardiovascular and the circulatory system. This fluid is not connected to the heart. It doesn't circulate through the heart. It circulates through the pineal gland and the cerebrium. The cerebrium is the gland that produces this fluid right here. Okay? The pineal gland, this area right here, is what pumps it around the brain and down the spinal cord and back up the spinal cord around the brain. You ever wonder why deers and horses and cows, they baby can be born and in 5 to 10 minutes after they born, they up and walking? It's because they don't experience the same growth as us. When they're born, their cranium is fully sealed up. It's fully closed. When we're born, we have an opening inside of our cranium that doesn't allow the cerebral fluid to flow around equally around this area right here. That's why we don't have control of our limbs. That's why we don't control our limbs, because the cerebral fluid isn't going out to the nerve endings to control our limbs. Now, look at this right here. If you pull this from the body and you lay it on the table, what does it look like? Don't that look like the sperm cell? Man, this is how they get these ideas of telling us that that we have sperm in us that look like this, men. This is where they're getting the idea from it. I just thought that would be a good little tidbit to show you guys, because they working their magic on us every day and we going along with it. Sperm does not look like that. This is not the sperm. I mean, this is where they got the idea from the sperm from. But the sperm does not look like this. This is what the brain is and the spinal cord looks like. This is the creation of the insides of your body. This is the second thing that's created. First thing that's created is the bones. The bones are created first. Then everything inside of the bones was created. So they show us this, telling us this is the sperm cell. Let's get back to this part right here.
Our results demonstrated that differential adhesion allows reproducible isolation of FGSCs that are able to proliferate in vitro over time.
Damn. What did I just do?
This source of FGSCs can serve as a suitable material for studying mechanisms underlying female germ cell development and function.
And that's exactly what they did right here. This is exactly what they're doing in this interview right here.
But what is really the purpose of this? As you mentioned, they say it's because they want to understand early fetal life, when most of the miscarriages happen. I think it's very slippery slope. Listen, cell research.
That's what they want to do. They want to create life without the womb. And they figured it out a long time ago. A long time ago. Let's move on. What the hell was this? Nothing. This image right here is of a tree. and I'm giving a comparison on how the stem of a tree is the same as the stems inside of the bones. That's why stem gives you a trunk of a tree or shrub. That's what this is. This is the tree's bones right here. And this is where the stems of the tree start. Now, stem in botany, the plant axis that bears fruit. Not B-A-R-E, but B-E-A-R, bear, like roar bear, and also carrying babies. See, when I was doing a video not too long ago, I was telling people to look out for the three bears, just like Goldilocks and the three bears. Well, this is the bear that I'm talking about that bears fruit and bears babies, that bears buds and shoots with leaves, and at its basal end, roots. This is the basal end. All right. The stem conducts water, materials, or minerals, and food to other parts of the plant. It may also store food, and green stems themselves produce food. The reason being is, just like we found out that they were sacrificing babies, just like they were sacrificing animals back in the day, what were they doing with the animals after they sacrificed them? Eating them. So what do you think they were doing with the babies? It's all a big circle of death. That's what they're calling it. In most plants, the stem is a major vertical shoot. In some, it is inconspicuous, and in others, it is modified for resembling other plant parts. For instance, underground stems may look like roots, and they might not be roots. The primary function of these stems are to support the leaves, to conduct water and minerals to the leaves, where they can be converted into usable products by photosynthesis. The same shit that the stem cells in the human body does. How photosynthesis, we don't go through photosynthesis, we go through electrolysis. All right, we create our own electrical impulses through the beating of our heart and the inhaling and the exhaling of our lungs. That creates electricity in our body. That's why it's involuntary. And if we stop those things, it stops life. So why do you think they use the defibrillator to restart the body back to life? It's because it's giving the body an involuntary shock, right? It's not a voluntary shock. It's an involuntary shock to restart those electrical impulses in the lungs and in the heart. If it wasn't that case, they wouldn't have to put that shit on your chest or over your rib cage. They would just put it on your arm and give you an electrical shock. But they got to put it over the two electrical charged instruments in your body that create electricity. That's the lungs and the heart, which works synonymous to one another. Stop the lungs and the heart will stop beating. Stop the beating and stop the heart from beating, and the lungs will no longer exhale and inhale to create that friction and that energy that the body needs to create electricity. Same thing a plant does through the stem. I bet you guys don't know what this is the image of. Looks like the tree, right? Looks just like the tree right here. Bam. Just like the tree. This is an internal image of the testes. This is a 3D image. So just so you wouldn't think that I was, just pulling this out because it proves my point. Here is an actual not botany, but a biopsy of the testes, and they were been dissected and opened up, and you can see the same stems inside of human testes. And it's like that in all male testes. But where you don't see these roots and stems at, you don't see them in the ovaries. You don't see them in the ovaries. This is the ovaries that's supposedly creating the eggs of a female. And so you didn't think that I was creating these little blotches and shit. Here's a CAT scan of the ovaries of a woman, which is the internal imagery of it. And you don't see that roof-like structure. They try to paint it in like the veins, but it's very obvious here in the testicles, because this is where the stem cells that are able to reproduce a human life come from, not from here. I don't know why it looks like this inside of a female ovaries. But this is not where life comes from. Here's another video that I'm going to critique on uterus transplants. Not ovary transplant, not the ovaries, but the uterus, because this is the petri dish in which where life is germinated, right? It's germinated. This is the petri dish. And let's look at this right quick. Fair use, YouTube.
It's a medical first in the United States, and it could give new hope to women who never thought they would be able to have a baby.
And that is a damn lie. It's not a medical first. They've been doing this shit since the early 1900s. Just like they've been doing plastic surgery since the 1100s. I'm not even saying that the early 1900s they've been doing this. I'm probably wrong on that. They've probably been doing it at the same time as they've been doing plastic surgery as well, because it is another form of plastic surgery. Transplanting the uterus from one being to another being, from a human to an animal, from an animal to a human. That's what they've been doing.
CBC's Scott report has all the details on the breakthrough uterus transplant.
It's a groundbreaking medical procedure. Doctors at the Cleveland Clinic on Wednesday performing.
Look, women and men doing this abomination.
The first uterus transplant in the United States. The recipient, a 26-year-old woman with a condition known as uterine factor infertility, or
UFI. Almost saying UFO.
UFI, which prevents her from being able to carry a child. She received the womb from a deceased donor during a 9-hour surgery.
Not create a child, but carry a child.
And tonight is reportedly in stable condition.
It offers me the opportunity to have a baby, which is clearly a very special thing for many women.
Dr. Sarah Swarovski is a gynecologic surgeon and
She said it's obvious a very special thing for women, right? But obviously, it was the only thing that women had to claim their fame off of. It was the only thing was sacred for women. But when they did this, this is what all of these dev cults want to happen on a grand scale.
Langone. She says uterine factor infertility affects thousands of women worldwide who are born without a uterus.
Hold on. If you're born without a uterus, that means you don't have ovaries, which means you don't have fallopian tubes, which probably means you didn't have a vagina. That's what it means.
Have lost their uterus or have a uterus that no longer functions. In these cases, even in vitro fertilization,
Now look at this video right here. This little video right here, believe it or not, is fake. This is fake. This is a CGI rendered video. You know what size this would be? And what syringe we know, right? And we know it's a syringe because look at the angle on it. Look at the angle on this tube right here. We know it's a syringe. You know at what microscopic level this syringe would have to be on? Come on now. We got to start using common sense.
That does not help. For these women, the prospect of a uterus transplant like this could offer a ray of hope.
It can be very important for women who have no options and no opportunity to have children on their own.
This procedure is part of a clinical trial. Doctors at the Cleveland Clinic say they'll perform 10 such procedures on women with UFI. Doctors say there are many steps involved in all this. Among them, before the procedure,
there's many steps among them, right? It's because the step that they're using right now is not natural. There's lots of ways to do this. But see, they're doing it the way we think that they should be doing it. in a surgical fashion. They've already showed us that they're able to do this in an alchemical fashion.
The recipient's eggs are harvested.
Eggs are harvested and frozen. Okay, freeze some eggs. Freeze a chicken egg with an embryo inside of it, and then try to thaw it out and see what happens. That motherfucker gonna be dead.
And frozen for implantation later in the uterus. Over 12 months, the transplanted uterus heals. After that,
the transplanted uterus heals, and then embryos implanted individually.
Embryos are implanted one at a time until the woman becomes pregnant.
Now, these embryos that they transplant into the lady, are they eggs? Why they're not saying they transplant the eggs they harvested into the woman? They're saying the embryos, like the already formed babies. You know why they saying that? Because they're not transplanting embryos. They're just transplanting sperm.
Essentially, IVF. If it works, after 1 to 2 babies, the recipient has a hysterectomy to remove the transplanted uterus so she can stop taking anti-rejection medicine, which could have side effects.
Now, if a woman is naturally supposed to have a uterus and is naturally supposed to have embryos inside of her, why is she taking anti-rejection medicine? Because they're not talking about a woman. They're not talking about a woman. They're talking about a trans woman. Or they talking about another animal. It's crazy, man.
Encouraging.
Novel. You know, it's always good to have more.
Novel. We've heard that word before, novel, right? What they use that word novel for? Think hard about it. What they use that word novel for? Not too long ago, right?
Options.
A chance for women with UFI to experience pregnancy for the very first time. Scott Rappaport, CBS 2 News.
The first successful uterus transplant was done in Sweden in 2014.
2014. 10 years after they supposedly found the FSCGs, right? The first female stem cells, the FGSCs, the female germline stem cells. They found it 10 years. They did a transplant of the uterus 10 years after they found that. Come on, it's not a coincidence. 2004, 2014, they did it before that too. It's not a coincidence.
In the United States.
This video right here is about all of the so-called transgender women can soon get uterus transplants and have babies. Soon, man, they've been doing this for a while. They got to get you warm up to it. They got to warm you up to it.
Trans women could be having babies soon. One of the world's leading fertility specialists has said that it's now entirely possible for transgender women to get pregnant thanks to development in science.
Guess what? If they already said it's possible, then it's already been done. If they say it's possible, it's already been done. Transplanting the uterus, they said it was done in 2014, but they found these SGSCs in 2004, but they found the male. You'll see what I'm talking about the male ones. But this is nothing new. They've been doing this a while. That's how they call it chimeric. This is all alchemical practices.
Doctors have successfully transplanted wombs in uterine and fertile women in recent years, and at least 5 babies have been born to these.
You see this picture that they made of this right here? You can't tell me that don't look like this. You can't tell me that don't look like that. Look at that. You can't tell me that little sperm cell that they try to tell us is what we come from right here ain't the cerebral spinal cortex, ain't the cerebral cortex. You can't say that's not it. But see, regular people, they're not going to even know this because they're not even paying attention to it. Most people didn't even know that your circulatory or cerebral spinal fluid was separate from your blood. It's separate from your blood. What do you think they call this? This is another word for adrenochrome. This is another word for adrenochrome. Let's move past this. And that big ass egg. Come on, man. You know what this egg represents? This represents the earth. This represents the earth and all the little motherfuckers running around on it. And if you believe the earth is like this, then you will believe that the sperm invades the earth and makes it into a human. You believe that? This is all Gaia worship. This is all Gaia worship. This is all mother goddess worship. Mother goddess worship is the same as Christianity. All of it's the same. It's the same as Buddhism. It's the same as what do you call it? Judaism. It's the same as Islam. It's just, all of it's the same. It just depends on which form of belief you want to believe in. Look where the egg is on. This is the uterus. They say the egg comes out of this, goes down there, and gets into the uterus, and then the sperm is brought up through the vagina into the uterus, so it can meet up with the egg and cause all that shit to happen, right? But in actuality, all it is the sperm going up into the uterus and inhabiting this space right here. Inhabiting this space. This doesn't create anything besides the premortal fluids that the egg survives in, the petri dish. That's what this is. The petri. Let me see where it's at. That's what this is, the petri. Oh, that's not it. That's what this is. The primordial fluid. The fluid that's on the dish. That's what makes the female germline stem cells or the sperm stem cells survive in that primordial fluid. That's what the ovaries produce.
Born to be transplant recipients in 2014. Experts now believe that this procedure can be conducted on transgender women who are born male and have undergone sex reassignment surgery. Carrying a live fetus in a transplanted womb will likely be more complicated and
guess what those pills are that they showing is going in there? Look. Guess what those pills are that they say is going in there? Let me show you again what those pills are that they say is going in there. Where is it at? Where is it at? Where is it at? Those pills that they show them taking is this right here. You guys see that? That's what those pills are. Vitamin C and veripic acid. Can't make this shit up. Can't make this shit up.
Have undergone sex reassignment surgery. Carrying a live fetus
and the pills and the shots.
And expectant transplanted women may need hormones to replicate the nasty pregnancy changes that occur in women. The male pelvis is also shaped differently than a female's, which means the baby would have to be born via cesarean.
Via cesarean section. And guess who they experimented on with that in order to perfect the method in order to do this. See, they had to find a way to get past this. So what did they do? They created a method of removing the baby without having to go through this or this.
Also shaped differently than a female's, which means the baby would have to be born via cesarean section.
That's why I say, women, be careful what you're doing, because you might be adding to your own demise. allowing shit like this to happen to you?
Of course, not everyone is on board with the idea. Some have voiced ethical concerns since a pregnancy of this nature poses a huge risk to both mother
If they're showing you and they saying it's possible, it's already been done.
and child. Progress.
Transgender man gives birth to baby. A transgender man in Portland, Oregon, has just given birth to a baby boy following his well-documented pregnancy. 34-year-old Tristan Reese, who was born a female, began hormone therapy treatment about 10 years ago in his transition to becoming a man, but he kept his lady parts. Having already.
So he kept his lady parts. Yeah, kept the lady parts because later on it's going to be used for an experiment that we're going to make sure occurs. Yeah.
He adopted 2 kids. He and his partner, Biff, never dreamed they might someday have children of their own. But when Tristan had a surprise pregnancy last year, their hopes and dreams changed. Unfortunately, he suffered a miscarriage after 6 weeks, but decided to take another shot at it under doctor's supervision. Tristan managed to get pregnant again, and 9 months later, voila, a baby boy is born.
A baby boy. A baby boy. See? It's crazy.
Tristan had to halt taking his testosterone treatments, but it seems it was totally worth it. The couple is overjoyed by their new son, Leo. And though Tristan's unique pregnancy might have seemed bizarre to some, the proud papa claims he hasn't endured even an ounce for 4 days. Then, for a double head. Coleman started gender reveal.
And see this right here? This goes through and shows different trans women having, or trans men having babies. But this right here is nothing compared to what they're doing all along. They don't even need a woman. They don't need a trans man to have a baby. They do it with a regular man. They can do it with a regular man. They already showed us how to do it.
From anyone he's met. What? 29-year-old Caden Coleman was pretty surprised to find out that he was pregnant back in 2013.
See, this is just to soften you up, get you ready for it, because the next phase of this is going to be, oh, you don't even have to be a woman, man, or whatever.
Girls had been using the boy's bathroom from where they could began identifying as the boy.
Asian netizens are kept off this might straighten her out. We occupy extreme.
Hold on, this right here tripped me out. Hold on.
Indonesian netizens are kept. Selena was born of the mantra of the right. The poet has married and fathered her marriage failed and lived with her partner to become a handyman and embrace her new life. And her career as a men's hairstylist blossomed. She even worked on the dresses of 42nd president.
What did it say? Worked on the dresses. Worked on the dresses of the 42nd president. I don't know if I caught that right.
Stylist blossomed. She even worked on the dresses of the 42nd president of the United States. Then 9 years ago in a New York restaurant, she met.
So I just wanted to run that by you. So is there something underlying that we don't know? Probably. Now this video right here, it stood out to me because there's something weird about this entire conversation at the beginning. Because this is supposedly the lady, the UAB's first uterus transplant recipient delivers healthy baby. So this is the first one to deliver a healthy baby, right? So let's hear what he says. But look at the man the whole time. Look at the man the whole time. Body language is everything, especially when you know what to look for. Check it out.
This is what I felt like I knew that I was supposed to do this.
Now it was born without reproductive organs. The ability to take patients with that devastating condition and for them to experience typical pregnancy, I think is important, and that's the huge success.
Even when you're waiting and like every phone call you get, your feet down, you know, you think this is going to be the call. You still don't just
Look at the man. Look at how he's looking. Look at how he's looking. He ain't gonna say one word. He's just gonna be looking weird and doing these facial expressions and nodding his head. Watch.
Really imagine what it's going to be like. I mean, it's just been so unreal. Until I woke up from surgery, I still was like, this isn't going to happen. Once I got the transplant, I never was like, what is this going to work?
Where did it come from?
Uterus transplant offers another option to an array of options that are out there. And that women's health and reproductive medicine is really about making sure there are options for women. You had all the stuff, like not really tired and all the normal pregnancy symptoms, I guess. But I just felt so grateful for every symptom because it was the first time that I passed the pregnancy. I wasn't supposed to be what I never thought I would be. You can see on everybody's face that something they're smiling and everybody's just like very excited.
Stop. Check it out. I know that the baby is further away from the woman than that, but that's a big ass baby. That's a big ass baby. It's a big ass baby compared to this. That little bump right there. I know, and that could be, that could be her. Well, come on now. That could be, just.
I just felt so grateful for it.
That could just be her earlier on, but that's a big ass baby, man. That's a big ass baby.
I wasn't supposed to be what I never thought I would be. You can see on everybody's face that something they're smiling and everybody's just like very excited about that. I mean, it was probably 50 people in there. Caring for potentially uterine transplant who's pregnant, it truly is multidisciplinary care, meaning that she had multiple specialists taking care of her. Ultimately, we do have a confidence about the success of this program, the success of these pregnancies. And I agree that with certain patients, I hope that this is an option for them one day, for those who can fulfill it. Babies being born is always a special event. But, I'm using some strong words here, but I think of these as a miracle baby. I got the whole it's really about restoring hope.
Yep. Strong hope. Yep. It's going to be hopeful. Now check it out. I got some information on the uterus transplantation. It says the surgical procedure whereby a healthy uterus is transplanted into the organism of which the uterus is absent or deceased. So the only way a uterus is absent, and this is my opinion, I know they say women born, some are born with defects and stuff like that. But if that's the case, then transplanted wouldn't be the optimal thing in the first place, because then, it's something that wasn't there in the first place. Like meaning saying like you adding something to it that wasn't there. Now, if it was, then maybe I'm wrong. But it says right here, as part of the normal mammalian sexual reproduction. You see how they keep throwing this word mammalian in there, right? Because they want you to remember that you are an animal. That's not us. Sexual reproduction, a disease or absent uterus does not allow normal embryonic implantation, effectively rendering the female infertile. Now, embryonic implantation would be that the embryo is created before it even reaches the uterus. So where is it created at? The embryo, the woman's egg isn't called it. It's not an embryo. See, the woman's egg is considered an egg. When it so-called meets up with the sperm, then it's called an embryo. So they're jumping the gun when they're saying that normal embryonic implantation effectively renders the female infertile. It's saying that the embryo is created before it even comes in contact with the uterus walls. So the phenomenon is known absolute uterine factor infertility, AUFI. Uterine transplant is a potential treatment for this form of infertility. Uterus is a dynamic, complex organ. It is hugely blood flow dependent. So check it out. If it's hugely blood flow dependent, that means that there should be a major artery connected to it. But they don't show that. They only show these two little lines right here, these two little arteries and shit that it goes from there. The heart is a hugely blood flow dependent organ too as well. Hence why you see the large veins or arteries that are connected to it. So what they're telling us is that this thing right here, once removed, a woman can pretty much call it quits on fertility, unless she gets a transplant. I don't think the transplants are meant for what they say they are. But that's just a little food for thought about the uterus transplantation. Here's another video that seemed kind of weird to me because of this woman right here. It just seems weird the way she's saying what she's saying, because most of the people that were giving interviews weren't acting the way she was. This is my opinion.
I'm Lauren here from the Provider. Researchers at the Children's Hospital in Philadelphia have created an artificial womb. The hope is that they can use this device to help the very earliest preemies. Premature infants who are so small that today's hospital technology really is not very helpful for them. They have to be put on ventilators, and they can use this device to help the very earliest preemies. Premature infants that they can use this device to help the very earliest preemies.
And this is under the guise of what they say they create this artificial womb for. But you can tell the lady's posture is kind of off, right? And she's doing this almost as if she's, displaying sarcastic behavior, like sarcasm. Let's go back so you can see what I'm talking about.
Researchers at the Children's Hospital in Philadelphia.
See how she's doing the head thing?
The hope is that they can use this device to help the very earliest preemies. Premature infants who are so small that today's hospital technology really is not very helpful for them.
If somebody was talking to me and I was asking them, "What are you doing?" and they start talking to me like that with their head tilted and bouncing up and down like that, I would think that these people are doing something that they're not supposed to be doing, and they telling me something that's trying to get me off the trail of finding out the truth. That's why I said that this was weird, because I recognized the body language right off the bat. As soon as she started talking, before she even started talking, her head's already tilted. And she straightens up at a certain point, and then she goes back to that same posture again. So it's not like she has some kind of physical defect with her neck. This is done involuntarily because this is something she can't hide on a subconscious level.
I'm Lauren here from the Provider. Researchers at the Children's Hospital in Philadelphia have created an artificial womb.
Straighten up.
The hope is that they can
now watch this.
To help the very earliest preemies.
Bam! She's back to that position again.
Hospital technology really is not very helpful for them. They have to be put on ventilators and incubators at a time when their lungs really are not ready to breathe air yet. So these researchers decided to go back to Mother Nature and mimic mom's uterus.
Mimic mom's uterus, not her ovaries, her uterus. Because uterus is the petri dish. This is the artificial petri dish right here. And as you can see, the fluid is what's keeping the baby alive. The petri dish, what they call premortal fluid, what we call embryonic fluid, is what's keeping the baby alive, not the any of the other shit that's in there. Now listen to this.
Fluid-filled container that preemies could be put into and take in amniotic fluid, a substitute for amniotic fluid, For this experiment, they
So the baby's taking in this embryonic fluid as substance and as the fluid that fills their lungs too as well. So why do they have this device right here connected to that, and it's ultimately connected to the baby? This is the artificial, what they call umbilical cord, and she'll talk about that too later on.
delivered some lambs by cesarean section at a time when their organs were biologically equivalent to the organs of very premature human infants.
How did they know this? They had to have dissected premature babies and premature lambs.
And they directly put them inside this fluid-filled container that they're calling the biovac.
Now check this out. This right here is like a dialysis machine. Now, you know what a dialysis machine does? It doesn't feed nutrients to the body. The dialysis machine filters the blood from all the toxins that's inside of the blood, and then it puts fresh blood back into the body, or filtered blood back into the body. Now, well, listen to what this lady says about this.
Inside the biovac, the animals were able to take in the substitute amniotic fluid.
Mm-hmm.
It would coat their lungs, just like if they were still in mom. And the mechanical placenta was attached to the umbilical cord. Now,
the mechanical placenta was attached to the umbilical cord. So the placenta is what? Like a dialysis machine. The umbilical cord is like what? The tube that's attached to the dialysis machine. It's not feeding the baby. It's exchanging the unfiltered blood and filtered blood back into the system.
Long-term data on these animals, but what they did find was that they appeared very normal. They were able to watch them over this period grow wool. And when they examined their organs later, they did appear to be comparable to lambs of that older gestational age, when they would come out of that. In the United States, roughly 1 in 10 infants have some degree of prematurity. The ones who are born later in the pregnancy, it's still too early, do fairly well. So,
it's almost like she has a tail. Like if you playing poker with somebody and they know they got a good hand, they act a certain way. If they know they have a bad hand, they act a different way. It's almost like she's doing that. The stuff that she wants us to know, she'll cock her head and say it. But the stuff that she thinks we already know, which is truthful, she'll straighten up her posture, like she's giving us some identifying markers that she has a tail. Watch.
do fairly well. So this device is aimed at the ones who are born really at the limits of viability.
Really, that is the truth. Watch, he should go again.
Gestational age, the time when they come out of that. In the United States, roughly 1 in 10 infants have some.
Semi-true.
The ones who are born later.
True. Here comes the false shit. There we go.
Too early what?
Too early. A baby born too early. Ain't no such thing as a baby born too early. Now there's complications during birth. For instance, who tells the woman that their due date or when the baby's due? A doctor. Now does the doctor know when the baby was conceived? No, the doctor don't know that. You're coming in there after the fact. The doctor tells you that you're pregnant based on certain identifying markers in your urine or in your blood. And it's usually an uptick in estrogen or an uptick in testosterone. Now, let me tell you why. An uptick in estrogen is if you're born, if you have a female inside the womb, because both are producing estrogen. So an uptake in estrogen, or an uptake in testosterone if you have a male in the womb, because the male creates testosterone. Now, How can they do that with a urine test? The same way they test for anabolic steroids. A urinalysis test will show you if you have higher levels of testosterone or higher levels of estrogen in your urine. Same thing with the blood, because it's an enzyme or it's a hormone that the body creates naturally. They're not testing for anything that's been uh, metabolized in the body. There's no way of testing for that, because metabolism is the destruction of whatever has been put into the body. When you eat food, the body destroys the food to remove the nutrients. That's metabolism. So they're not testing for these drugs. They're only testing for the effect of it. The same thing when a woman's pregnant. Higher levels of estrogen or higher levels of testosterone. When a woman is pregnant, her body will display that she's getting more of some type of enzyme, and it's usually estrogen or testosterone. So when they're testing a woman, they already know the levels of each one in the woman's body. They already know the level that at a certain age a woman has. They already know that there's certain micrograms of estrogen and testosterone in your body, whether you're male or female. If there's an increase or an uptick, they say you're pregnant. And depending on which one, they can determine on whether it's a male or a female. Ask me how my dumb ass know that. I read. Most people don't read. Most people don't read. If your gym coach, or I'm not your gym coach, if your athletic coach can test you for testosterone or test you for steroids with a tab, right? They can do the same thing for estrogen. What do you think the pregnancy test is? You think the pregnancy test is testing to see if you got a baby inside of you, or if it's testing to see if you have increased estrogen or testosterone? That's what the test is doing. So when you go in there and you peeing on the stick, it's testing to see if there's elevated levels of those two hormones in your body. It doesn't matter which one it is. That's how you find out if you're pregnant. That's what it is. Read the box to give you an indication of that. Women, men, same shit. So men, guess what? If you want to find out if you're gonna pop on the steroids test, if you're out there listening, men, get your pregnancy test, and I guarantee it'll show you. All right, so look, that's the conclusion of this video. I hope you guys got something out of it. I didn't have too much, interference with anything. I didn't have anybody trying to tap in with me. I posted the link at the top of the screen of the chat, so nobody wanted to come up, because this is a subject, man, that's very technical in explanation. You got to be able to explain this stuff. If not, you'll sound like a semi-dumbass like me. You know what I'm saying? Because when I'm reading this stuff, I don't understand what it means. I have to go back and I have to define each word, find out the way that the word is used. And that's how I discover what's being said. Like, I was going back into the video and I was explaining what these abbreviations mean and stuff like that. I mean, it took me a while to figure out that this FGSC was actually a SSC. It took me a while to find that out. And the only way I figured it out is because I had to go back and define different words, different medical terminologies. I don't have all the medical terminology that I use to define it, but I do have the defining words from etymology and what it means and shit. But yeah, man, if you guys want to prove any of this wrong and debate me on this, I welcome it, man, because what it's going to do is going to open up more eyes and more ears to what's being said and what's being done. And women, you're being used. You're being used for your own demise. The feminist movement is actually the female destruction. All right? It's not a race war that we got to worry about. It's gender war. That's what we got to worry about. Gender war. I don't want to be at war with the woman. I don't want men to be at war with women. I don't want women to be at war with men. Gender wars. That's what this is all about. That's what the death cult uses as its main source of weaponry. All right, so I hope you guys got something out of it, because this information, man, is very technical. They made it like this on purpose, and they want people to actually not look into this. That's why they put these people up here in front of us, to give us a good show. Now this video right here is gonna go off into another topic that I'm gonna be doing on my next stream, and everybody should know who this is. Everybody should know who this young lady is right here, or young lady or lady or whatever. Everybody should know who she is. Now watch what she says, and this is the prelude for my next upcoming video. It's taking me a little while because there's so much information. This video right here I'm doing took me a little while to find all the information so I can at least sound like I know it a little bit about it. But go ahead, I'm gonna let you guys hear this part of the video right here so you guys can tell me what you think.
I regret getting the vaccine, even though I'm a 52-year-old woman, because I don't think I needed it. I think I would have been fine. I got COVID many times, and it was well past when the vaccine was doing what it was supposed to be doing. And then for the first time, I tested positive for an autoimmune issue.
Whoa! Did she just say what I thought she just said? If she just said what I thought what I thought she just said, please let me know, because I'm confused. I'm confused. All right, because I thought that only applies to certain things, right? All right, so I'm going to show you guys two different things. All right. I'm going to show you guys this. She said she tested positive for autoimmune disease. Let's go back, and I want to make sure she said it right.
Issue at my annual physical. Issue at my annual physical. And then for the first time, I tested positive for an autoimmune issue.
An autoimmune issue. Now, what she's saying, what she's not trying to say in all words is autoimmune disease. An autoimmune disease is a condition that results from an anomalous response of the immune system, wherein it mistakenly targets and attacks healthy, functioning parts of the body as if they were foreign organisms, right? Here goes another one. Autoimmune disease syndrome. Autoimmune disease causes symptoms with the treatment. It doesn't have a little side thing on there like it did last time for the autoimmune disease, right? It's talking about syndrome. And we should know what this is. That's what this is. Is that the same as this? And this is what a lot of people mistaken. This is what they're mistaken nowadays. They think this and this is not the same thing. It's the same thing. They got the same descriptions. Autoimmune disease syndrome, and autoimmune what? Autoimmune issues.
At my annual physical.
She did an AIDS test and she came positive. So I want people to realize when they say you have a autoimmune disease syndrome, they're talking about AIDS. When you have an autoimmune disease, they're talking about the same thing. See, an autoimmune disease and autoimmune disease syndrome. Check it out. Autoimmune disease, symptoms and causes. The same thing pops up for AIDS, pops up as a disease. And then if you type it in again, let's type in autoimmune issues. Same shit pops up. Look, Autoimmune disease are conditions in which your immune system mistakenly damages healthy cells in your body. Types include rheumatoid arthritis, so on and so forth, and AIDS. This is what that lady is talking about. She has
for an autoimmune issue at my annual physical. And I asked, I went to the best rheumatologist in New York, and I asked her, do you think this could have to do with the fact that I got the damn booster?
All right, so I'm going to leave it right there. That's it. I'm going to leave it right there because that's going to be the next part of that's going to be the next video I make, and I'm going to try to make it as informative as this one. Good shit, Sumo. Good shit. It all relates to it. Immune system and lymphatic system, all of it's the same. And she's saying that she tested positive for an autoimmune issue. She ain't saying disease, but that's what it is. It's a disease. It's dis-ease. Now, autoimmune dis-ease syndrome is the same as an autoimmune disease. It's the same as autoimmune syndrome, autoimmune issues. Same thing, man. So you guys know where I'm going with this. I'm not gonna go too far in it, but that's my next video I'm gonna make. I hope y'all got something out of this because guess what? Nothing happens for no reason. It all happens for a reason. And just to let you guys know, this image I got on the screen, what do you think they doing with the ankh? What do you think that ankh represents in this image right here? I talked about it once before, but this is what they're giving them. This is what they're giving them. That's all I'm gonna say for now. But yeah, you guys take it easy. You know, do your due diligence. Don't trust nobody. Don't trust anything people say. I don't give a damn who it is. Do your homework for yourself. Take the information and spit out the fucking and get rid of the nonsense. Take the information and get rid of all the lies. You know, don't do vice versa. Don't take the lies and the information and say it's good information. No, go and look up this stuff for yourself. And I guarantee, man, you guys it's gonna open your eyes up to something that you probably was never privy to. Because I know I wasn't privy to all of this shit with the death cults until I started looking into it. And I'm telling you, it's in full effect. So until next time, hey, you guys have a good one. And thank you for coming out. Peace.